Hey, testing, testing. Mic audio's on. Sound is on. Game is on. VTuber's on. Hey everyone! We're live! And we are hanging out with the absolutely delightful Lynette today in Genshin Impact. We're doing the rest of Lynette's story. We did 2 of 5 endings. So right there, and they were very closely connected to each other. Now this one seems easy to get, but there's going to be 2 over here. So right now, my biggest goal is to hang out with Lynette so she can escape doing the after party for the play that she's supposed to be a part of. And I think that she's trying to help a cat find its owner.
A word of advice, don't break the law. Is there anything else? Yeah, seriously, don't break the law.
Oops. Yeah, hanging out up there. Probably easy to warp up. Earlier, I was watching a bunch of the Arc System Works World Tour finals.
Huh.
We
I didn't
had
like that. Was I using it
the new
wrong?
Under Night 2 game.
Maybe if I just...
Lynette smacks the card box. All the cards fall on the ground.
Clearly, there's some design flaws to iron out. I'll have to let Fremine know.
I feel like this wasn't a design issue.
Let's see... Which card did I get? 4.
Less than 5, so that means no helping Bonnie.
Well, the cards fell on the ground though, so I don't think it counts as fate. If you want to get the right answer, you have to let fate decide. Also something Linny said. So, to put it another way, if picking a card up off the ground is how to not leave it to fate, then that means it must be the wrong answer.
I think that what Linny really meant is sometimes you have to accept the answer you didn't want.
Or... Why don't you pick a card? Since I ran into you here, that means... our fates are, like, interfering with each other.
Alright, I'll pick another card for you.
Thank you. This one is final, I promise. Here, take the Fateometer. If it's 5 or above, that means fate successfully changed. Anything lower than 5 is a fail.
Okay, but 5 is really low. I didn't get that many
Also,
5s.
if you have your own thoughts about what I should do, feel free to share it. Now that I've got a good problem solver here to help, I don't need to run every little thing by fate.
Alright. Head back to the drinks reception. I think you should help Bonnie. I want to get this handled. That's the main purpose of the stream. If we have time, we can handle the other 2.
So, we're looking for Bonnie's owner?
So how do you plan to find Bonnie's owner?
I think I'll go to the Steambird and see about putting an ad in the paper. You wanna come along? I think Bonnie wants you to come with.
Aww. Sure, if it means I get to hang out with you for a bit longer.
Every stupendous day starts with a Steambird. Oh, hi Lynette. Hi Traveler. What can I help you with?
Are there any AK missions in there about a missing cat?
I don't think so. Have you picked up a stray?
Yes.
Yep. If there's no commission to follow up on, could we post a notice about the missing cat instead?
Why, of course. What a kind thing to do. Just fill out the form.
Ah.
Well, we've registered you as missing. You can stay at my place until your owner finds you. Also, I just wanted to say thanks for keeping us company for so long. Well, I should probably head back to the drinks reception. Hopefully most of the people have left by now. If you've got some time, you should stop by my place tomorrow to see Bonnie. There's a nice cup of tea in it for you.
Oh my, that sounds like a date. Looking forward to it.
All right, see you then.
Should be fine. Christ. Sure it'll get
Next morning, 7 to 9.
I once considered keeping some pets in my office, but soon gave up on the idea. It's just not right to keep small animals where they won't be able to see the sun.
Uh-oh. These two look upset at each other.
I believe this cat belongs to me.
Oh
I
no.
already told you, this isn't your cat.
Just take a breather, you two.
What's going on?
Oh, you're here. As you can probably see, you'll have to take a rain check on that tea I promised you. At least for now.
This is my friend's cat. He's preoccupied with some important business, so I came to retrieve her in his stead.
Insight check success. This lady's expression seems a little unnatural. The way she speaks is loud and authoritative. It's like she's deliberately using her tone of voice to dispel any doubts about her integrity.
No, it's far more likely this cat escaped from the Humane Society.
Director of the Humane Society. His expression also seems a bit unnatural. The hesitation in his voice, it looks like he could be hiding something. His gaze keeps drifting off to the side. It's like he's not trying to draw attention to himself. How about we let Bonnie decide?
Bonnie?
That's the name I've given her in the meantime.
Animal handling. Let's see who Bonnie decides to approach. Top marks. Bonnie happily runs to you and
Well,
begins
this
to move her
complicates
legs.
things.
Well, this complicates things. It seems she quite likes me. There is no way to tell who her owner is.
I told you before. This is my friend's cat. It's normal for her not to trust me.
Do we know who your friend actually is?
Listen, I'm the director of the Humane Society, okay? We've got so many strays, dogs, cats, you name it. I'm not even the one feeding them most of the time. You can hardly expect the cat to recognize me.
Then how are you so sure she belongs to you?
She just looked somewhat familiar, so I came to check, just in case.
I mean, why would you care if you have so many if she goes to somebody else?
If she turns out to be one of ours, I'll take her back. Simple as that. Even if that's not the case, the Humane Society could still take her in, if no one else comes to claim her,
She
that
literally
is.
has somebody trying to claim her.
We're an organization that specializes in rescuing and sheltering stray animals. We've been in business for several decades now. I'm Bernard, the current director.
The Humane Society. Huh. The name sounds familiar. I remember hearing good things. You're the one in the Quartier Lyonnais?
Yes, that's the one. Anyway, if it's not too much trouble, could I possibly take a closer look at the cat? If it turns out I really am mistaken, I suppose that means the cat belongs to this lady here. She would be the only remaining option after all.
That's not necessarily true.
It belongs to my friend.
With us here to keep watch, it should be fine.
Go on, Bonnie.
They put so much effort into this cat.
Oh, nope. Looks like I was mistaken. They do look similar, but there's an ever so slight difference in this one's fur color. Deepest apologies, friends.
He's actually backing off?
Well,
thought he was so
suppose this means
insistent
I
about
still
his-
have a missing cat to search for. Apologies again for the confusion.
So, is this your friend's cat?
Oh, yes, exactly.
Which friend?
Wait a second. You lied earlier, didn't you?
Nice.
Lied? I'm afraid I don't know what you mean.
A liar always has a tell. The look in their eyes, their breathing pattern, the way they hold themselves. The things that can give you away are often more numerous than you would think.
What are you talking about?
The way she
The way I
touches her
see
head.
it, you're conflating baseless conjecture with fact.
Normally, when someone is called out, their breathing speeds up as they begin to panic. But your breathing pattern hasn't changed one bit. In fact, it's been strangely calm and measured this entire time. It stands to reason, then, that your agitated behavior earlier was all an act. If you're a bad guy, I'm sure you'll take off running the first chance you get. If you're a good guy, the most likely explanation is that you're a member of the Guards, or some similar organization.
And you're basing this off of?
Intuition. Nothing more.
Intuition. Well, I have to hand it to you, Lynette. You're right. I'm a member of the Guards. The name's Elodie. I'm currently investigating a cross-border smuggling case. This cat here, Bonnie was her name? Well, her owner is one of the prime suspects of our investigation.
Well, I don't trust her now, especially.
A couple of days ago, our suspect got wind that we were on his tail and fled. That's most likely how he got separated from the cat. I just so happened to stumble upon your notice in the Steambird, so I decided to see if he'd come back for her. But it looks like I overestimated him.
If I were on the run, I don't think I'd come back either.
The impact of this case has been huge. The Marechaussee Phantom, the Guards, and the Special Patrol have all launched investigations. If there was even the slightest chance that he would show himself, I had to follow up on the lead.
So, what's being smuggled?
A new kind of illegal drug. Imitation synth. We confiscated all the synth on the market, but addiction isn't something that goes away overnight. Even without substances on the market, people are still looking for a way to get their next fix.
And it actually still affects people, even though they've been cured of the problems with, primordial water?
And criminals are all too eager to capitalize on that addiction. That was the impetus for imitation synth. Needless to say, a small-scale market opened up very quickly. After the original synth debacle, We put several measures into place to prevent similar incidents from occurring. The perpetrators got smart, though, and shifted their sales overseas before those measures could kick in. That's when the imitation synth smuggling began. We only recently got word of the presence of imitation synth overseas. We managed to track down evidence of some early transactions. What we were able to find out, however, hasn't proven that useful given the amount of time that has passed. The Marechaussee Phantom launched an investigation to track down every person in Fontaine capable of producing a drug like that. That's how we learned about Bonnie's owner.
Who is he, exactly?
He's a researcher at the Fontaine Research Institute. His name is Pierre. Pierre Lafayette, to be exact.
Lefebvre.
Lynette's expression seems a bit unnatural.
The Marechaussee Phantom found him in Poisson. In addition to the cat, he also had a pendant with him.
Well, she's gone into a lot more detail than I would have expected if she was lying.
At first, there wasn't much cause for suspicion. A search of his house didn't reveal much to go off of
Because
either.
we could just talk
The
with the
Marechaussee
Marechaussee
Phantom very
Phantom
nearly left it at
to
that.
confirm her story.
It was only later that we realized the coat of arms on his pendant belonged to none other than the Lafayette family, one of the most infamous aristocratic families in Fontaine. Obviously, this discovery prompted a further investigation into Pierre. At that point, however, we discovered that he'd already fled. Now the guards and the special patrol are all searching for him.
Could his family be hiding him?
That's not possible, actually. The Lefebvre family has been gone for a long time.
Exactly. Many years ago, several important members of the family, including the patriarch, were murdered by an assassin of unknown origin. From that point on, family's power and influence took quite the hit. The family is engaged in all manner of crimes. As you can imagine, there's no shortage of people waiting in the wings to take their revenge. And with the family severely weakened, they were able to do just that. Most of the remaining family members succumbed to sickness or hunger. The ones that survived are currently living out their days under a new identity. Pierre is one of those very survivors. He's been hiding away in the Fontaine Research Institute all these years. His true identity unbeknownst to all. Until now, that is.
Is it really okay to share all this information with us?
Well, my fellow guards have told me all about how smart and courageous you both are. And I know you possess a strong sense of justice. There could be a chance that Pierre, or one of his accomplices, might attempt to get close to Bonnie. Now that you've been briefed on the situation, I was hoping you'd help us keep a lookout. If I take Bonnie back to the guards with me, there's no way Pierre will try and come for her. Not even the most daring of criminals would attempt something like that.
So we should take Bonnie with us for the time being.
I have to admit, I'm not holding out too much hope that Pierre will come back for her. But if there's even the slightest chance, then it's worth a shot. Well, I've got some other leads to follow up on. If Pierre does appear, please contact me right away.
What's wrong? You don't look so good.
It's nothing. I'm fine. It's just the head of the Lefebvre family. He was the eminent person who kidnapped me all those years ago.
Aww.
It was at a dinner party. Someone tricked me into boarding the Lefebvre family carriage. Whoever it was, they took me back to their home. But before anything worse could happen, Father intervened.
So that's what happened. The assassin Elodie mentioned.
Yep. Father was the one who orchestrated the fall of the Lefebvre family. That's what led Lenny and I to join the House of the Hearth. After all these years. I never thought I'd hear the Lefebvre name again.
Are you okay?
Don't worry about me. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I was just thinking about Lenny. he's been acting strange recently. He avoids me for days on end, consumes himself with some secret investigation, and then out of the blue pushes me to do that acting job. Thinking
Ah,
about it now, it's almost like the one I drew from that deck of cards was part of his plan all along. He must have asked Fremenade to help him out. In any case, I know he's hiding something from me. He's really pulled out all the stops this time.
you think he knows about Pierre?
It's very possible. I'm sure he tried to send me away because he was afraid it would bring up some painful memories for me. It wasn't necessary, though. Even after all these years, he's still as overprotective as ever.
I would be.
You'll have to help me teach him a lesson if we run into him along the way.
Along the way, are we going somewhere?
Yep. I want to head to the Fontaine Research Institute to learn more information about Pierre. Just let me activate search mode and then we'll head out. Who knows? Maybe we'll run into Linny along the way.
Are you trying to help Linny with this? Investigation? Or are you trying to prove yourself?
A little bit of both, perhaps. For the most part, though, I just have the sense that something's not right. Something isn't adding up about Pierre's story. I'm just not sure what.
I also want to know what secrets he's hiding. Sometimes you've just got to take the bull by the horns, right?
Okay, I'll write a letter explaining everything to the crew. Once that's done, we can head out.
Lynette, you're, not at rehearsal?
We can drop the act, brother. In fact, I don't think either of us will have a need for acting anytime soon. You should know better than to try and keep something from me. You've never been able to do that, even when we were kids.
And that's why I tried to distract you with the masked mime show. But I guess you're just too good.
Care to introduce us to your new assistant?
This is Officer Shovras, captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol. You may have met her already.
We meet again.
Nice to see you.
She's a
I should
pirate.
clarify something. Mr. Linney's here at my invitation, not the other way around. To borrow your expression, Miss Lynette, I suppose that would make him my assistant more than anything. We've brought on Mr. Linney as a consultant in the past. He was instrumental in helping us crack a case involving a perpetrator who used magic tricks to commit crimes. I was hoping he'd be able to provide some valuable insight this time around as well.
Are you here because of the Lefebvre case?
So you've heard everything then?
That's exactly why we're here. There's always been questions surrounding the fall of the Lefebvre family. Some people even believe the House of the Hearth was involved. Whoever was behind it all was extremely cautious. They didn't leave a shred of evidence. This very fact, however, leads me to believe it was indeed the work of that Harbinger. I took a look at the entrance and exit records of all the carriages that night. Let's just say it wasn't hard to deduce that there's ill will between you two. Don't worry, I don't have any evidence to that effect, and I certainly don't plan on going to bat for such a despicable family. Plus, you were victims back then more than anything. I sought Mr. Linney's help with the smuggling case. Nothing more.
You're really teaming up with the House of the Hearth?
The way I look at it, it's a collaboration between us as people, not the organizations we represent. Besides, by working together, we can expose the truth as quickly as possible. you can hardly say that's at odds with the justice my organization strives for.
I'm assuming you wouldn't be opposed to some extra help.
Not at all. I was planning to invite you from the very beginning, Miss Lynette. It's just that my assistant here raised some objections.
Lynn, I'm not the same person I was back then. That little girl who did nothing but cower in the corner in fear, she doesn't need saving anymore.
I know you want to protect your little sister, but little sisters don't stay little forever.
I'm sorry, Lynette. You're right. I let my concerns get the better of me.
Oh, and the next time you want to distract me, you should try a different approach.
Who's this? You pick up a stray while I was gone?
It's a bit complicated. I'll explain later. Anyway, her name's Bonnie.
Well, if there are no objections, then I suppose the only thing left to say is... Lynette, Traveler, welcome to the team.
It appears the Lefebvre family was very particular in their use of insignias and emblems. The family would use different emblems to mark differences in status, blood relation, and the like. In fact, the insignia that was discovered on the pendant was used to represent an illegitimate child.
So that would mean Pierre is a bastard child?
It's highly likely. That very status might have been what allowed him to emerge from the fall of his family relatively unscathed. It would also explain why he was able to assume a new identity as a researcher with relative ease.
We discovered something interesting, though. After talking to some of his co-workers, it appears he pretty much works at the Institute in name only. He's practically been cast out.
Wait, what happened?
Apparently, Pierre was once addicted to synth. He tried to use the resources at the Institute to create a substance with a similar effect. He claimed it was just for research purposes, but the Institute revoked his access to the relevant materials regardless. He was placed on disciplinary leave, pending a thorough investigation of his actions. But it seems the Institute ran into some trouble along the way. Could have been a lack of personnel or a timing issue. In any case, they had to table their formal investigation into Pierre. Unfortunately, that also included reporting any relevant information to the higher authorities. As for his family background, it appears none of his co-workers at the Institute were aware of that information. All they could tell us was that he was quite the recluse.
Maybe we'll have to take our investigation elsewhere then. You find anything useful at his residence?
Other than the pendant, we didn't find anything else of note at his residence in Poisson. Based on the samples of imitation synth we've been able to analyze, it appears the substance leaves behind strong traces wherever it's produced or stored. Those traces might not be obvious to the casual observer, but they're not something our guard poodles would miss. Pierre's home, though, came up completely clean. We didn't find any records indicating possible involvement in overseas transactions either. So, the Marechaussee Phantom didn't view him as a major suspect at first.
Maybe he had a separate, dedicated area where he made the imitation synth.
Well, his neighbors did say he was often gone for long stretches of time. You would think with him out and about so much, people would have spotted him around Poisson, but residents said they barely ever saw him in town. If his reclusive nature was just a matter of keeping a low profile, I guess it would make sense for him to have a secret base to carry out his business.
After he disappeared, the guards conducted a thorough search of Poisson, but they didn't come across any suspicious locations.
Poisson.
Wait, what is it, Lynette?
You know Hotel de Boer, where I first found Bonnie? To get there from Poisson, you have to cross a stretch of ocean. It's not somewhere a cat could just wander off on its own.
A cat? You mean...
Bonnie is Pierre's cat.
According to the testimony of the police.
Oh, that's right! When the Marechaussee Phantom first tracked him down, I remember there being something about a cat in their report. So this is her?
From what we've learned about Pierre's habits, he doesn't seem like the type to venture out without a purpose. So what you're saying, Lynette, is that Bonnie couldn't have gone missing in Poisson. If that's true, then...
She must have wandered off only after Pierre brought her to his secret base.
Exactly. Bonnie might even know where it is.
Wait, you think the cat can lead us there? But she's not trained like one of our guard poodles. How is she supposed to understand what we want her to do?
Lynette could give it a try.
Meow. Meow meow. Meow?
Wow. Bonnie seems to understand what you want her to do.
Near the coast, the beach, and beneath the cliffs. The place we're looking for is most likely north of the Court of Fontaine.
Well, I've certainly never taken a witness statement like this before.
Well, if it works out, maybe it's something worth getting used to.
Cats and humans are actually pretty alike. When it comes to communication, most of what we want to convey can be accomplished through body language alone. But humans tend to rely too much on speech to ever take advantage of that fact. Of course, body language has its limitations. You're not going to be able to get across anything too complicated.
The important thing is that we now have a lead. Let's try and find a place that matches the clues Bonnie gave us.
Go and check the suspicious location. Wow, that's pretty targeted.
It's raining? That's all right. The real problem would be if we could feel water.
Seems like Bonnie is trying to take us somewhere.
And it's raining. She's gonna hate that. Oh man, she's off like a rocket. Look at this.
Gardemex ahead.
Look out!
Into the wind.
Shower me with praise! Let my name echo in song!
Oh?
Mind the side effects. Seems like an emergency. One with nature.
Yoo-hoo! Let the world collide!
Go near the base. Oh, this thing up here. It's open air. Of course, the cat's gonna get out. Hey there, Tail
Wow, Lynette,
Splash.
you found this place
Back
so
with
easily.
the cuties again.
If I thought there was any chance you'd say yes, I'd recruit you into the special patrol here and now. Nope.
Sounds familiar. I pretty much receive letters daily from people trying to poach her from me.
Let's just focus on our search. There's a lot to investigate.
So what we're doing today, Tail Splash, is the second part of Lynette's special story. Last time we were focusing on her part in the play. This time we're focusing on the little cat that she found and trying to return it, who apparently was connected to a smuggling operation.
Aha! Just as we thought. This is where the imitation synth was being made.
These bottles and jars, they're all imitation synth?
Looks like he's got more than just imitation synth stashed around here. In addition to the raw materials needed to synthesize the substance itself, there's a large quantity of cleaning agents and a few drugs I haven't been able to identify. These cleaning agents are likely used to dispel traces of the substance, like its smell. The Special Patrol did some digging into imitation synth. Our records indicate that it's very difficult for ordinary people to detect traces left behind by the stuff. I'm sure that was the case for Pierre as well. It must have taken a considerable amount of time and skill to ensure all those traces get washed away. But what are these other drugs for?
Alright, investigate the clues in the area.
the material these bags are made of, it's quite rare.
Doesn't it look similar to the material used for your magic pockets?
It's the very same, actually. Romaritime flower fiber. But there's something special about the composition of these bags. I took a closer look, and it appears they're not only waterproof, but also corrosion and leak resistant.
Impressive.
Even the strings look specially designed to keep the bags closed nice and tight. I came across some bags made of the same material just now, but they were much smaller and thinner. From the look of them, they seemed far less durable as well.
So kind of like one of those small sealed bags.
Very similar, actually. Normally, it would be easy for a guard poodle to sniff out the imitation synth, but if it was sealed away in a bag like that, it might be possible to elude detection for some time. But what could these big bags be for then? If the goal is to keep the imitation synth hidden and sealed away, these bags seem a bit too conspicuous.
Alright, that's clue. Oh, and Lynette's down here. She might have found
When the
something.
Marechaussee Phantom searched Pierre's house, there was no sign of these barrels, right?
Must have moved them. Carrying them all the way out here would have attracted way too much attention.
You're right. That doesn't seem like his way of doing things. How did he get them here then?
Examine the barrels. The barrels show signs of water damage. Dried up water stains can be seen around the circumference of the barrels. There seems to be a pattern to the location of the water stains. For some reason, they appear to be limited to the lower half of the barrels. Okay, he floated them. The lids do seem very tight, leaving sizable gaps don't seem very tight, leaving sizable gaps around the edges. But there doesn't appear to be any traces of water inside the barrels.
Only the lower halves of the barrels appear to have been submerged in water.
Based on the various ingredients we've found, this appears to be where Pierre was cooking up his imitation synth. It looks like he used a special cleaning agent to get rid of any residual traces of the substance on his person before he left. That's how he was able to get past the guard poodles.
That's why the Marechaussee Phantom didn't find anything suspicious inside of his home.
So then he transferred the imitation synth into small sealed bags and took it somewhere else for the drop-off.
No. I don't believe our suspect is the kind of person who'd go around carrying incriminating evidence with him. That would potentially create too many eyewitnesses. The cleaning agent and the sealed bags might get past the guard poodles. But if a member of the public or even a guard on patrol happened to see him during the drop-off, a quick search would reveal everything. That's still a very risky operation.
What if the drop-off happened at sea? There'd be no one around to see him.
The barrels we found were wet around the base, but the top half was dry. As if they'd been standing upright in the water.
Oh, so maybe they were put in shallow so they wouldn't bob around. Ha ha ha! Yes. Ah ha ha ha! Yes, I know we got one that I banned when you were on last time.
If you put a barrel in the water, it will normally float on its side. Unless it's heavily loaded, in which case it'll sink.
So he might have used something to tightly seal big bags full of air, turning them into airtight flotation devices.
Yes. With flotation rings around the body of the barrels, they'd stay upright in the water. And then he could afford to load them more fully.
I'd put them a lot higher, like around the top, but okay.
You think he used floating barrels? I suppose if he acted at night, when there are very few other boats around and visibility is low, it's a valid theory. We can't rule it out.
But then, wouldn't the barrels be carried off by the waves or the currents? How would the person doing the pickup know where to look?
Barrels that could float away and get lost at sea. Seems difficult to keep in one place, kind of like certain pets.
Traveler, can you come take a dip in the sea with me? I have a feeling that somewhere down there, we might find some rope. If a rope can be used to keep a pet from running away, then why not a barrel?
Take a look. He would have just stationed them right off of here? What's the point of even putting them in the water then? Maybe they wouldn't get spotted so easily.
This isn't the place. The wreckage of a small boat? This isn't the place.
Oh, we spotted something.
Got it. Time to go up and report.
Whoa! That really launched me out, huh? Oh, they've got a... Okay, I already have marked it.
As expected, we found a few pieces of rope and some anchoring stones underwater. If you attach them to a floating barrel, it would look like this. With this anchoring system, it would be possible to use floating barrels for the drop-off. You would just need to drop them in the water at the agreed-upon location. We also came across the wreckage of a small boat. It must have been left out on the water and capsized due to the force of the wind and waves. Its small size, however, would have made it perfect for staying undetected.
Let's talk this through. Based on the evidence we've collected, it seems like Pierre would row a small boat out to the agreed-upon transfer point, drop off the barrels, leave, and then row back and retrieve them after the transfer was complete.
Why use such a convoluted drop-off method, though? Wouldn't it be easier for both parties to meet up at the transfer point on their respective vessels and exchange the goods right then and there?
It could be that he was trying to avoid meeting up with his associate face to face. As one of the sole survivors of the Lefebvre family, maybe he was just used to that sort of elusive lifestyle.
It seems like Pierre deliberately chose the floating barrel method so that the goods could be dropped off and picked up at separate times. That way, the two parties wouldn't have to meet each other.
Well, if that's the case, they must not have a very close working relationship.
Let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. Assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. It's possible they were just trying to keep a low profile. Two boats sailing to the same location at once could be too conspicuous. The most important thing is that we can now confirm Pierre wasn't acting alone. The floating barrel drop-off system is proof enough of that.
I don't know that we can prove that yet, but
Let's
I guess
say for
she's
now
saying
that he was
something.
only in charge of producing the imitation synth. That would mean there has to be at least one other person involved in the operation, likely in charge of transporting the goods across the border.
That explains why we couldn't find any evidence linking him to any overseas operations.
Since we've determined that the goods were transported by boat, maybe we can track down some travel logs or something.
We can certainly check the various ports for that information. It's possible, however, that Pierre's associate also used a small boat for the transport, and docked along the shore rather than at a large port. If that's the case, it's unlikely there would be any record left behind.
Have you looked into the ports already?
Absolutely. Before Pierre disappeared, we made sure to investigate all sorts of outward-bound vessels. We also had port authorities keep a lookout for anything suspicious. Unfortunately, we were never able to find out how they managed to get the imitation synth across the border.
A small boat and a few barrels isn't going to get you very far.
You're right. Whatever vessel was used for the pickup, the person responsible for smuggling the substance out of Fontaine would have had to use a larger vessel for the actual transport. That's the only way they would be able to smuggle on a large enough scale to make a profit. They must have found a way to disguise the imitation synth to clear port inspections.
Well, even if we can't find any travel logs, we can still search for other clues.
Exactly. We can't let any opportunities slip through the cracks. Although, given the amount of ports that could be involved, we should probably split up.
I'll run home and ask some of my brothers and sisters to try and dig up some information.
I should also head back and update my platoon on our progress. I'll grab some reinforcements while I'm at it. Lynette, Traveler, why don't you head to Lumideus Harbor and see what you can find out?
Sure.
All right. Come on, Bonnie. You too.
Off to Lumideus Harbor.
They say there's nothing new under the sun, but somehow a picnic in the warm sunshine never gets old.
Oh, Lynette, Traveler. And Bonnie, too.
She knows
What brings
Bonnie?
you all here?
Oh, she was the one who talked to us earlier. So I guess this confirms that she is actually a member of the guards and she wasn't pulling something over on us back there.
Did something happen?
We're here to check the travel logs. You update them on the situation.
Oh. I see. Thank you for everything you're doing for the people of Fontaine.
What are you doing here?
I'm in charge of guarding the port. You mentioned you were after some travel logs, right? I can go fetch those for you.
Looks like I've got another hard day of work ahead of me.
Are things usually hectic around here?
No, not usually. It's this incident that happened recently. Before that, everything was normal. All we had to do was confiscate anything suspicious and we could call it a day. Pretty simple stuff. But things are much more complicated now. We somehow let suspicious cargo pass through the port undetected. Not even our guard poodles were able to sniff it out. Even worse, we still don't know how the perpetrator was able to conceal the goods so well. By suspicious cargo, do you mean imitation synth? Yep. However, prohibited substances are just one example. We confiscate all sorts of contraband during the course of our inspections. Or at least, we're supposed to. So what happens to the goods you confiscate? Oh, we keep them in a storage locker. If they turn out to be something particularly dubious, we'll turn them over to the Maison Orderly. If the goods are only slightly suspicious but could otherwise be harmless, like raw materials that could potentially be used to create contraband, we return them to the ship they were confiscated from, instead of letting them pass through the port.
Sorry for the wait. These are the travel logs for...
That's one of the poodles, by the way. Gigantic things, a lot larger than a normal poodle, I would think.
Oh, you brought Gerard with you.
Actually, he followed me here himself. It's like he smells something on me. Huh. I wonder why Gerard is reacting to you two so strongly.
Could be we just left the place where the imitation synth was made. Whatever Gerard smelled on you probably came from us.
Huh? We were so careful not to touch it, but we still ended up with traces on us. If it leaves a residue so easily, I just don't understand how the culprit was able to disguise the goods at all.
Why don't you have a look at the travel logs first? All ships coming in and out of the port are recorded here, except for the ones the port authorities ride to and from work.
What? I mean, the beatboxing puppy does sound pretty dangerous. He's got some maneuverability on his side.
The Humane Society.
We've encountered that organization before, right?
Their name is all over the exit logs. The purpose for leaving is always listed as overseas adoption.
Ah, the director of the organization explained that, actually. He said a lot of the cat and dog breeds unique to Fontaine are also very popular overseas. So, his organization offers an overseas adoption program.
Bernard, the director of the Humane Society, was the man who came looking for Bonnie earlier.
The cat that fled from Pierre looks just like the cat from the Humane Society is looking for. Could that really be a coincidence? Yes, it could. There are a lot of cats that look alike, but maybe not enough for this story. It seemed as if Bernard was also hiding something. He was. He looked so insistent, but also ran a cursory check before leaving just like that. When he came looking for Bonnie earlier, what if he was actually there to check if Bonnie was his missing cat? Maybe he was there for some other purpose.
Have you figured it out too, Traveler? The way the criminal disguised the goods? When Bernard asked to take a closer look at Bonnie, he was actually checking whether there was any imitation synth in her stomach.
He was using the animals at his shelter to smuggle imitation synth.
Wait, what?
The sealed bags we found at the secret base. They were specially made to be corrosion resistant.
So that they wouldn't be digested.
There were gaps around the lids of the barrels, and airbags were used to keep them upright in the water.
So that the animals would be able to breathe.
Those drug Chevres found at the secret base. She most likely didn't recognize them because they're not used on human beings. It's an anesthetic used on pets. The perpetrator must have given it to the animals.
So that they would keep still in the floating barrels.
Pierre must have made the animals swallow the sealed bags full of imitation synth at his secret base. Then he stuffed them into floating barrels and left the rest to Bernard.
This is getting wild. There are definitely people who will swallow drug bags and transport drugs that way.
The sealed bags combined with an animal's body odor would certainly be enough to mask the scent of imitation synth.
During our inspections, we would have never thought to inspect the bellies of those animals for anything suspicious. Even if we tried to feel around for something, I'm sure it would be difficult to detect.
Exactly. I bet Bernard even transported animals with synth in their stomach alongside ones without. That way, it would be even harder to say with certainty that something was amiss.
Do you think Bonnie could have imitation synth in her stomach?
She's probably in the clear. Otherwise, Bernard would have never left without her. I'm guessing he didn't know whether Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth before he fled. Just imagine. He sees the notice we put in the Steambird, and it turns out that one of the very cats he gave to Pierre for the smuggling operation is out in the open, roaming the streets of Fontaine. If Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth, then Bonnie would practically be living proof of their crimes. He would have had no choice but to go after her.
So, that's why he came to find you and insisted on taking a closer look at the cat.
Pierre must have fled in a hurry. That fact is probably what spared Bonnie.
Wait a second, I'm a little lost here. I get the part about hiding the substance in the pets, but those... what did you call them again? Floating barrels? Why even put the animals in there in the first place? If you've got something as convenient as a floating barrel, why not just stuff it with the imitation synth directly? Why not wait to hide the stuff until after the exchange has been made?
In order to make sure the animals could swallow the sealed bags, they made them extremely thin. Had they not done that, the animals would have likely bitten or chewed through them.
And if any of the imitation synth leaked out, they would also have needed a lot of cleaning agents to get rid of the resulting smell.
That step would have required a lot of energy, as well as a certain amount of technical expertise. So, it was better left to the more experienced Pierre. We've already proven how easy it is to pick up trace amounts of imitation synth, so I'm sure Bernard was taking all the precautions he could to avoid the same fate.
Okay. Then, let's head to the Humane Society right away and bring that guy to justice. I'll bring a Gardamek to speed up the process.
We don't have any proof of any of this. Though maybe they could investigate if they got a warrant. I don't necessarily know if they care about warrants.
The headquarters of the Humane Society should be somewhere around here. Bernard could show up any moment now.
Ah, you're the people from earlier. Wait, you're from the guards?
I'm a little nervous.
After him! We can't let him get away! Give it up, Bernard.
Mercy. Have mercy. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything I know.
The Humane Society has done so much good over the years, and yet you have committed such an atrocious deed in its name.
Look, I didn't have a choice, okay? My father cared about those blasted animals so much, he didn't bother to take care of his human wife and son at all. While those animals were showered with love, I lived worse than a dog.
No one asked. Tell me, how did you first get to know Pierre?
Well, after I took over the Humane Society, it gradually became harder and harder to maintain its operations. Until one day, someone suddenly passed me a letter. It said that I could stand to get a large sum of money as long as I helped them to transport some animals abroad. It was only after a few such transports that I finally understood what I was really transporting. But then, Pierre wrote to me, saying that we were already partners in crime and that I better keep cooperating with him if I didn't want to be reported to the guards.
Bernard's expression seems a bit unnatural. There was a hint of dishonesty in his trembling voice. He's lying.
You knew it from the very beginning, didn't you? The reason why you had to go through so many steps just to transport some animals.
I'd suggest that you confess everything right now if you don't want to add anything else to your list of crimes.
Yes, officer. I would order wooden barrels and flotation devices according to his instructions, and then load the sleeping animals onto a boat. Once I sailed to the location he provided, I would dump everything together into the sea. And a few days after that, I'd come by again in my boat and pick up the animals sleeping in the barrels.
Wait, he did
Once
the
I had
drop-off
received enough
and
of
the
them,
pickup?
I'd bring them to the harbor to be adopted abroad. That guy, Pierre, he was running the entire show. He set up all the meeting times and found all the foreign adopters. Oh, and he even supplied all of the goods, too. I just did the transport. He was the one who planned out and executed everything else.
So where is he now?
Look, I don't know, okay? I've never ever met him in person. We've only ever communicated through letters.
And when did he send his final letter to you?
Just last night, he said that the Marechaussee Phantom is now after him, so he's planning to go into hiding for some time. He didn't mention where he's thinking about going, though, but he did tell me to look out for the guards.
It's been a few days since Pierre's last appearance. I'd wager that he sent that letter after he found his hiding spot.
So where is that letter now?
I burned them. It was on his orders. I had to burn every letter after reading them. I wasn't even allowed to share them with the rest of the society employees.
Sure sounds like you're trying to use the lack of witnesses or evidence to pin the blame on Pierre.
No, I swear, this time I'm only telling you the truth.
Well, we can check the truth of your statements at the Opera House. I hope you know what'll be coming for you if I were to find any discrepancy between the evidence and the testimony you just gave.
Ouch.
I know, I swear I was just telling the truth.
My thanks to you both. Had it not been for you, I really don't know what would have happened to this case.
Bonnie helped, too.
That's true. It was all thanks to her that Bernard was finally exposed.
Aw. Bonnie suddenly runs and hides behind you and Lynette.
And it looks like she's grown quite fond of you two as well. Then I'll leave you be. Just let me know if you find any other new leads.
Lynette's expression seems a bit unnatural. Seems that Lynette still has something on her mind. Attempt to close the case. Something on your mind still?
It was that obvious, huh? Well, even though it didn't feel like Bernard was lying, after talking to him, I'm getting an even stronger sense that something's not quite right. We investigated so quickly that perhaps we've missed a thing or two along the way. Let me activate deduction mode and consider things again from the top to see if we can find anything new. Is there still anything unresolved or strange that we should try to consider?
About what we found in Poisson.
The Marechaussee Phantom found Bonnie and the Lefebvre pendant at Pierre's residence. That was the beginning point of our investigation.
A pet handoff. According to Bernard, the trafficked animals were taken directly to Pierre's base rather than to Poisson. The Lefebvre family is infamous in Fontaine, and even their innocent scions became targets of revenge. Pierre just carried the pendant with him as if it was an ordinary piece of jewelry. Pendant. Pattern on the pendant is proof that its owner is an illegitimate child of the Lefebvre family, but this shouldn't be all. Interpret Bonnie. Bonnie has been with Pierre ever since the first meeting between Pierre and the Marechaussee Phantom. That's why Elodie came looking for her. But that shouldn't be all. Why is Pierre a suspect? Pierre became the suspect in the case because of a suspicious cat and a suspicious pendant.
Why would he leave such an obvious trail for us to follow when he took so much care to not leave any traces of imitation synth in his home?
About Bernard's letters, there's an unexplained part in the operations of this trafficking.
Bernard claims to have received a letter last night from Pierre. In the letter, Pierre stated that he had gone into hiding. Is there something wrong with the letter?
The letter's delivery method, regardless of whether he sent it anonymously or secretly delivered it himself, it's no longer something we can follow up on. The letter didn't mention Pierre's hiding spot, although it makes sense that Pierre wouldn't want anyone to find him. And Bonnie. Bonnie had already been on the loose for a few days when we found her yesterday morning. That means that she had already broken free when the letter was written. The letter's purpose. If the point of the letter was to tell Bernard to be on his guard, then why didn't it also warn about Bonnie?
If Bonnie had imitation synth in her body, then she was a liability that had to be recovered at all costs. But if she wasn't carrying anything, then it would have made sense to tell Bernard not to worry. And thinking about it, Bernard only attracted our attention in the first place because he came to look for Bonnie. Could it be that the person who wrote the letter also knew nothing about Bonnie's whereabouts? Or they had a separate goal entirely?
There's an unexplored part in the operations of this trafficking ring.
Well, we've discovered that Bernard is responsible for the trafficking, while Pierre deals with supplying the goods. Is there something else in this scheme that we're missing?
Bernard can be compensated for his work after completing a shipment. No suspicious record would be left for long as he receives the funds as an individual rather than through the Humane Society. They always communicated in writing, and all of these letters have been burned, so we can no longer confirm or trace anything. We've already proven that Bernard and Pierre coordinated their handoffs by passing floating barrels to each other on open stretches of water. Any past member of the Lefebvre family would probably have a number of connections outside of Fontaine. According to Chevreus's investigations, Pierre has been formally reprimanded for his synth-related research, can no longer get any materials from the Fontaine Research Institute. Bernard can be No, okay.
There's no need to rush. Let's see if we can find...
Now behave, and follow me to the interrogation room.
Ow! That hurt. Ow!
Contemplation. They're about to leave. Is it really okay to let them go? Oh, that is a... check fail. We can leave Bernard's interrogation to the guards. Let's first rescue the animals at the Humane
Is
Society.
everything really over? I still feel like the relationship... Also, I've had this strange scent. Ugh. No
Oh
good.
boy.
I've still got nothing, and I'm nearly out of energy.
Don't force yourself.
All right. I'll stop thinking about it for now. At the very least, we've made it so that no more animals will suffer like those poor animals did. And that's what I hope. Let's go to the Humane Society and see if there are any animals left that might still need our help before my energy for today completely runs out.
Save the kitty! The truth remains submerged in the dark undercurrents, yet hope already lies beyond the cage. So, if we finish up this, we'll probably get the other ending here. Something on your mind still?
It was that obvious, huh? Well, even though it didn't feel like Bernard was lying, we investigated so quickly that perhaps we've missed a thing or two along the way. Let me activate deduction mode and consider things again from the top to see if we can find anything new. Is there still anything unresolved or strange that we should try to consider? Well, we've discovered that Bernard is responsible for the trafficking. There's no need to rush.
About where we found in Poisson.
The Marechaussee Phantom found Bonnie. Why would he leave such an obvious trail for us to... Bernard claims to have received a letter. If Bonnie had imitation synth in her body, then she was a liability that had to be recovered and thinking about it, Bernard only attracted... Could it be that the person who wrote the letter also knew nothing about Bonnie's whereabouts? Or they had a separate goal entirely?
Now behave, and follow me to the
Ow! That hurt. Ow!
Contemplation. Another useless roll.
Is everything... I still feel like... Also, I've had... no good. I've still got nothing.
Just
and
leave
I'm
it to
nearly
Lynn
out of
and the
energy.
others.
All right. I'll stop thinking about it, for now. At the very least, we've made it so that no more Let's go to the Humane Society, before my energy for
Something on your mind still?
It was that
Great.
obvious,
I'm gonna
huh?
speed
We
through these so we can
investigated
get
so
the
quick.
ending.
Is there still the Marechaussee fan? Why would he leave such an Bernard claims to have received a letter.
Oops.
There's no need to rush. Well, we've just...
Connection.
Yeah, according to Bernard, Pierre also supplied all of the goods. But if the Marechaussee Phantom's records are correct, Pierre should have lost all access to the material.
Now behave, and follow me to the...
Ow! That hurt.
Oh, that was tight. No, can't let her get away. Hold her right there.
Is there something else you need from me, Traveler?
Bernard and Pierre. They weren't really acting alone, were they?
Huh?
I see. It all makes sense now.
Hey, what are you talking about? Look, even our confessed criminal here has no idea what you're saying.
Because he has been kept in the dark all along. And I assume it's the same with Pierre.
Bernard thought he was communicating with Pierre, and Pierre thought he was taking orders from Bernard. But for all this time, neither of them knew that there was a third person all along.
That never quite added up for me. Why did Pierre feel compelled to return to his home with Bonnie and Dependent, and make them so easy to find for the Marechaussee Phantom?
Any animals Pierre received from the floating barrels should have been taken directly to his base. And considering his precarious situation, the pendant should have been the last thing Pierre would leave lying around.
Both of these things are in stark contrast to his usual meticulous and vigilant behavior. There's only one reasonable explanation. He was following orders, just like Bernard. He probably received the following instructions right before the Phantom came knocking on his door. Bring the cat and the pendant, and our undercover agent will be sure to help you. Unbeknownst to him, however, the third person who wrote that letter to him had long decided to sacrifice him and Bernard to save themselves.
They instructed the two men to communicate through barrels, specifically so they'd never get to meet each other. Honestly, this third person probably planned to sell both of them out from the very beginning.
What? You can't be serious.
If you focus only on Bernard's testimony, it's easy to believe that only Bernard and Pierre were working together. The case appeared extremely simple. Bernard did the trafficking, Pierre the imitation synth production, drugging, and stuffing.
What? Wait. But that doesn't make any sense. If that's the actual truth, then as soon as Pierre is caught, he'll explain his side of the story and the third person will...
Yep, which is why the third person made sure that Pierre would never be found again. Once they had instructed Pierre to expose himself, the third person wrote to Pierre again, suggesting that everything had been taken care of, and he should take Bonnie and safely return to his base.
They then ambushed Pierre and made him disappear.
Of course, Pierre's disappearance at such a sensitive time immediately made him a prime suspect. Knowing that Bonnie had last been seen with him, all the third person would have to do from that point on would be to lead the Phantom to investigate the Humane Society and get Bernard to confess the truth.
Bernard would then testify that Pierre was the one who came up with the whole plot, and Pierre would be seen as having gone into hiding in anticipation of getting caught.
Wait, so you're saying that the letter I received yesterday, the one that made me think Pierre was still alive, it was also sent by the third person?
Is that what happened? I'll get back to headquarters right away and reinvestigate this case from the top.
Not so fast.
Chevra said that assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. Someone among us, however, has been feeding us all kinds of preconceived notions ever since our first meeting. They suggested that Pierre's disappearance was an attempt to escape the judgment of the law, and that Pierre was a scion of the Lefebvre family. But if the disappearance is truly just a cover-up for a murder, then couldn't the true scion have been an illegitimate daughter, rather than an illegitimate son?
Miss Elodie Lefebvre?
Huh?
Haven't you taken this joke a bit too far? You're right. I did let a lot of assumptions get to my head when I first started to talk to you about the case. I'll make sure to correct my behavior.
You deliberately fed us lies, But even you could not control every last detail of your plan. There was a flaw in your scheme, and something didn't quite go as planned. Getting the Marechaussee Phantom to notice Pierre was only the first part of your plan. Had they failed to take notice of the Humane Society, they could have cast a wider net, and you couldn't predict what they might possibly find if given enough time. This, of course, was the main weakness of your plan.
And once the Special Patrol and Linny got involved, it became even harder to control the outcome of the investigation.
As someone accustomed to acting from behind the scenes, you didn't want to take the risk of personally proposing a raid on the Humane Society. So, you thought about pulling a few more strings, so all the suspicion would point towards Bernard and his society.
A great option, of course, would be to also dispose of Bonnie and leave her body at Pierre's base in anticipation of a later discovery.
Once the Phantom expanded their search, it would only be a matter of time before they found Pierre's base. If a cat last seen with the suspect turned up dead at the imitation synth base, it wouldn't be long until the Phantom would figure out exactly how she had been mistreated and turn their eyes towards the one organization that has been sending boatloads of animals out of Fontaine.
However, something unexpected happened at the base. Bonnie managed to escape in the chaos.
It was probably during your ambush of Pierre. You didn't even have the time to check if she had already been stuffed full of imitation synth. Still, you soon found another opportunity. Before long, Bonnie had made her way back into the city, and even popped up on the Steambird. Like Bernard, you desperately wanted to confirm the contents of her stomach, so you hurried to find us. Unlike Bernard, however, you were hoping that Pierre did have the time to make her swallow a load of imitation synth. While investigating the suspect's cat, we unexpectedly discovered that the suspect has been smuggling imitation synth using living animals as intermediaries. That was your plan, in any case. With that, you'd have been able to lead the investigation towards the Humane Society.
But you were extremely unlucky.
Bonnie had managed to escape before Pierre was able to stuff her full of imitation synth. That part of your plan could no longer be carried out. But as shrewd as you were, you came up with another plan right away. You manipulated the Traveler and I to help you identify Bernard as a key suspect.
You knew Linny was investigating the case with Chevreuse, and you also knew of Lynette's previous encounter with the Lefebvre family.
You used the Lefebvre name as bait to get us to join your investigation. With 2 extra bodies around, the Special Patrol is sure to soon take note of the strange event of Bernard somehow having a reason to look for Pierre's cat.
So, what you're saying is, I went to all that trouble just for the chance that you might put forth the suggestion that would lead you down the wrong path.
Of course, you did far more than that. Just now at Lumidu's harbor, were you not the person who highlighted the suspicious activities of the society?
By showing us the port's travel logs.
Ugh.
You even highlighted the society's activities during your compilation of the logs, so they'd be immediately visible to anyone examining the records. Moreover, the logs contained no records of the Port Authority's activities. In other words, your activities.
And what are you trying to suggest with that?
I am insinuating that you had plenty of opportunities to transfer the raw materials for imitation synth from the harbor to a boat, and then sail over to the meeting place full of floating barrels.
Once Bernard had placed the animals in the barrels, you open the lids and also dump in the raw materials. As long as you did it before Pierre came for his pickup, there'd be no one the wiser.
And that's how neither the trafficker nor the manufacturer knew there was a third person who supplied the raw materials, and surreptitiously operated between them.
First, you got in touch with both parties and secured the raw materials. Then you instructed Bernard to prepare the floating barrels and the animals. After that, you slipped the raw materials into the barrels next to the animals and requested that Pierre pick up the barrels and bring them back to his base.
Pierre manufactured imitation synth using the raw materials you provided, stuffed the animals, and placed the animals back into the barrels. Having received the green light from you as Pierre, Bernard then retrieved his animals and shipped them out of Fontaine once he had received enough for a full batch. This is the truth behind your smuggling ring.
I can't believe it. I never put two and two together.
You've sure got an extremely lively imagination.
So what do you think she's going to say next?
Ever thought about a career in writing crime novels? But do you have any evidence?
But do you have any evidence?
It appears that it's quite easy to predict what you'll think or say. Then if we apply that to this case, we can also think of a few places to look for incriminating evidence. You know very well that this case will not end until Pierre is found, so you will have him commit suicide out of fear and shame to end the investigation for good. That way, you can also pin the blame for the overseas smuggling activities, the theft of the harbor's confiscated raw materials, and even the Lefebvre name on him. After all, dead men tell no tales. But you still want it to appear as if he had sent that last letter to Bernard, so you have to make sure he cannot be found until after Bernard has confessed to the authorities. To do that, you either will hide his body until you've found an appropriate time to set up a fake suicide scene, or you'll dump it someplace where it'll be hard to determine the exact time of death. Submerged in water, for instance. The location would ideally allow you to keep the body hidden for some time while also letting you keep an eye on it.
You could also keep him in a very cool environment to be handled later, or set it fire to make it look like he had been burned to a crisp. An example of a place would be somewhere in your own boat, or underneath the waters near Lumiduce Harbor.
There are only so many options to hide a person's time of death, after all. As long as the Phantom investigates each of the possibilities in turn, they'll surely find Pierre's remains. Especially since, as the prime suspect who will now be taken into custody, you will no longer have the time to move him, or set up a fake suicide scene to cover up the murder.
How absurd. And on what grounds will you order my arrest? Don't think for a second that your spouts of nonsense will amount to any kind of real argument. After all, I'm...
Elodie Lefebvre! As the captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol, I hereby declare you as a suspect in the case. If you have any objections, you may raise them later during interrogation.
Chevreuse, Linny.
That's right. We received a message from Lumiduce Harbor that you were going to investigate the Humane Society. We didn't expect to run into you at such a critical moment.
While at the harbor, we noticed something else extremely interesting. Apparently, you often used all kinds of excuses to swap your shifts. And if one were to match the times of your shifts to the activities of the Humane Society and those of certain foreign ships, they'd find them to be an exact match.
That's just a coincidence.
Yes, I'm sure you have already thought of a dozen different ways to explain away the suspicious activities. But as far as evidence goes, that should be enough to warrant taking you into custody.
Don't worry. If it turns out that the guards are still unable to find any evidence after all this, Lynette and I will do everything in our power to clear your name.
Although judging by her reaction, I assume no follow-up from us will be needed.
The Lefebvres were infamous for using disguise and infiltration to achieve their goals. Who would have thought that they would have planted someone within the guards?
Judging from the timeline, they likely arranged for you to enter the guards before the fall of the clan. But they probably didn't expect you to turn it to your advantage and use your job to save yourself during the purge.
Not only that, but you actively participated in the interrogation, arrest, and judgment of the Lefebvres during their fall, thus clearing yourself of suspicion. You brutally and cruelly abandoned your allies as soon as they outlived their usefulness. Just like a lizard cutting off its own tail in order to live. You've been doing this for years.
So you played me like a fool after all? Ah!
Bernard is suddenly knocked out by a sudden strike.
What was that word you used? Ally? You think that someone as foolish as him is worthy to call himself my ally? They were worthless scum. All of them. Not just Bernard and Pierre, but those Lefevres too. They always just saw me as a tool. I lost all my chances of a normal life just because I was born into their lot. Not only that, but because they wanted me to become an undercover agent, they stripped me of my name, too. I had to live in constant fear of them while they were alive. And even once they were gone, I had to continue to bury my heritage and my name. Always worrying that their enemies would come knocking at the door. Do you know anything about what I've been through over all these years? My life as the last Lefevre?
Elodie's expression seems a bit unnatural. There's a hint of drama in the voice of the suddenly agitated Elodie. It feels like her anger may be part of some kind of bluff.
I don't, and neither do I care.
No one asked about your past. You can save that speech for the trial.
Are you for real? Aren't you a Lefevre victim too?
Elodie, you're the only one still living under the shadow of a name.
That's enough. Keep your hands where I can see them and do not resist arrest. If you have more to say, save it for the interrogation room.
What a joke. What a joke! Hey!
Don't come any closer.
Don't come any closer.
What's that?
This device seems a bit odd. Small device that Elodie took out appears very crude, as if it's made from paper mache.
Know what this is? I've secretly planted loads of explosives in the Humane Society. Just one step closer and... whether they're cats, dogs, or just unlucky human employees, they'll all be blown up into smithereens. Surely you bunch of goody two-shoes won't let that happen, right?
Deception assists Linny in deceiving Elodie. Stealth, launch a sneak attack on Elodie while she's distracted. Persuasion, try to convince Elodie to surrender. Intimidation, help Chevreuse to intimidate Elodie. I'll work with Linny. Ouch, that did not work. Check failed. Surely, you bunch of goody two-shoes won't let that happen. Whoa, just calm down a minute for here.
That's enough! I have nothing left to say to any of you! Gardamex, get him!
Gardamex?
Not good. She's trying to escape. We need to end this fight as soon as possible.
Shower me with praise!
Clouds high, the birds come!
Way now.
Busted so quickly, huh? Good thing I'm...
As Elodie begins to believe that she had finally made it, she is knocked from behind by Bonnie?
Phew. So I was right after all. It's easier to deal with the person causing the problem than the problem itself.
What was that device she had?
This is it. Looks like it's just a toy.
So she really was just bluffing.
Guess that's probably why she suddenly flipped and knocked out Bernard. He probably knew that there were no explosives at the society.
She also pretended like she had a villainous breakdown, as if she had no choice but to kill to escape her life.
Well, given that she never even showed her face to Bernard and Pierre, I had my doubts that she'd have gone to the society in person to plant explosives.
Thank you for your help, everyone. I'll take them back for thorough questioning, and find someone better to take over the Humane Society. I might need a few statements from everybody. Would you be able to come with me?
If statements are all you need, can Linny provide them on my behalf?
No.
I still need to go back and explain some things to the crew. I also had an appointment with the Traveler before we got interrupted.
You mean when you said I could stop by your place?
Ah, so you do remember. Yes, I invited you to come over to our place. Once I'm done talking with the troop, I'll make a nice cup of tea and bring Bonnie to wait for you outside of my door.
Recharge with Lynette. Right, it's a short walk. Right.
Looks like no more free coffee for me.
And they live above this on the bridge.
Gotta find that balance.
No way! I'm not guessing.
Black tea and a cute kitty. Truly the best combo for standby mode. Want some?
A cute kitty, please.
I see she's already starting to snuggle up to you.
About Elodie's case, are you not interested in any follow-up developments from it?
Not at all. Information is indeed very important, but if you were to try to collect every piece of information you come across, your efficiency would actually decrease. Plus, if you just think about it, what sounds more fun? Writing a statement or enjoying a tea party?
The tea party.
Great answer. That'd be my pick too. Had we not run into that case, we could have spent the entire day like this. But now, I'm running low on both time and energy.
With quality time, you should be able to recharge more quickly.
You're right. I can sense it. I'm recharging very quickly at the moment.
I still have a question though. When did you start to suspect LED?
Something about her rubbed me the wrong way since the very beginning. But to be more precise, it was probably around the time when I saw Bonnie try to get away from her.
Back then, LED tried to get close to Bonnie.
Elodie tried to get close, but Bonnie deliberately dodged her. Maybe Bonnie had tried to evade her before at Pierre's base. Or perhaps Bonnie just instinctively knew that she wasn't a good person. Not everyone who likes cats is a good person. But if cats like you, you're probably alright.
Fair enough.
Humans tend to overthink things, but cats rely on their instincts, and they're pretty sharp. I mean, just look at Bonnie. She took a liking to you the moment you met.
Aww. Dex and detectives. Alright, the story has come to an end for now. And we've got one more. Prerequisite quests have not been completed. Wonder if I can just do this. Upstairs, alright. Decision. None of these have anything to do with Lynette. As Lynette attempts to draw a card.
I didn't like that. Was I using it wrong? Maybe if I just...
Lynette smacks the card box, all the cards falling on the ground.
Clearly, there's some design flaws to iron out. I'll have to let Fremine know.
I feel like maybe this wasn't a design issue.
Let's see... Which card did I get? 4.
Less than 5, so that means no helping Bonnie.
Well, the cards fell on the ground though, so I don't think it counts as fate. If you want to get the right answer, you have to let fate decide. Also something Linny said. So, to put it another way, if picking a card up off the ground is how to not leave it to fate, then that means it must be the wrong answer. Or... Why don't you pick a
Pick
card?
another card for you.
Thank you. This one is final, I promise. Here, take the fatometer. If it's 5 or also, if you...
How about you do neither?
Huh?
If it was something that urgent, someone would have come looking by now. That applies both to your troop and to Bonnie's owner.
What you're saying is, since nobody's come looking, I can just keep hanging out with Bonnie for a bit longer? Is that really okay?
Well, Bonnie sure seems to like that idea. Check success. Oh, that's a 10. Yeah.
You make a good point.
We can just stick around here for a while. So if anyone does come in looking for you, they'll find you.
Okay, well, assuming Bonnie hasn't strayed too far from where she went missing, there's a chance we might bump into her owner in either the Steambird offices or the restaurant. So, stick around here in standby mode? Yeah, that suits me.
If you're going into standby mode, shall we find some cat food?
Oh, good idea. Bonnie's definitely hungry.
If we're getting cat food, shall we get some snacks for us too?
May as well. We could be here a while.
Since we've got food and snacks, let's find a place to chill.
When I was trying to find somewhere I could space out earlier, collect my thoughts, I figured the cafe might be a good shot. Alright then. Plan of action, spend the whole day spacing out. In standby mode.
Review invitation. Doing nothing is the happiest thing. Alright, I did get that one. I got both of the Rescue the Kitty, both of the plays. I got all 5 memories. And
Have you ever seen any stickers on my back? Do me a favor and take them off. Malazines like to play pranks sometimes.
What if I looked at another one? We have... all these I've already done. Kaya, Pave, Layla, and Farazan. We'll just do this one. We'll at least make some progress on it. Shenanigans and sweet wine. Aiming for maybe about 11 or 11:30. He's staying down here in the Port Ormos of Sumeru.
Mind the side effects.
Hey, little birdie, don't feel down. Come and perch on my shoulder. Don't be shy. I'll show you around town.
Kaya? That's not what a duskbird's call sounds like.
Really? No wonder they never pay attention to me. Forget it. I probably shouldn't be anthropomorphizing them anyway. Haven't seen you in some time. To which one of the Animo Archon's winds do I owe the honor?
Guess your natural charisma drew me here.
Oh, is this your way of saying that you missed me? Since it wasn't meant to be with this little birdie, I'd better leave it alone. Let's take a walk, shall we? If you're wondering why I'm here, Jean's been worrying about trade safety recently. I discovered this when I unwittingly burst into her office to save the day. Another job involving long-distance travel falls to me. I suppose it's my own fault for having such a strong sense of duty. Still, on the bright side, business is now taken care of. And I have unused travel funds, so I was planning to...
Gundafar, we are in the middle of a war. Your place is at the front lines by my son's side. Pray tell, what provokes your unwarranted return to the palace?
Gundafar?
A matter of utmost importance, Your Majesty. Such that I must personally report it to you.
Huh. Outdoor theater. Looks fun.
Where were we just now? Travel expenses? Do you want to stop and see the show?
Actually, yes. I saw some guards do a musical performance when I was traveling with their caravan in Sumeru. They were desert dwellers. So are these actors. And I think I actually recognize one of them. Come on, let's go watch.
Oh, the world's a stage. Watch the performance with Kate.
Your Majesty, not only has God bestowed the throne upon you, but your beloved son, Prince Kubad, has led our brave warriors to victory against Frasyav's army. His men have laid down their arms and fled. Frasyav's brazen ambition is no more. He has bowed his head and now presents to your Majesty an offering of treasures and hostages, as well as a plea for peace. My king, this battle has finally restored the dignity of our people. Moreover, with Frasyav's offer of land comes the opportunity to expand our borders, as your Majesty so greatly wishes. His Highness the Prince and I believe this peace settlement will be a great boon to our nation. It is for this reason alone that I have removed my armor and made haste back to our halls from the front lines. My king, what say you to this proposal?
You look like you have a clay flower pot on your head, a terracotta flower pot.
Ah, it's the tale of Prince Kubad. Ever heard this one?
Feels like we've missed a lot of the backstory.
Don't worry, I still remember the general plot. Let me fill you in on the background while the king deliberates. The main characters are the brilliant Prince Kubad and his war-hungry father, King Kabus. The one talking to the king right now is Gundafar, the prince's tutor. When the prince was young, the king was deceived by a malicious rumor that the prince had mistreated his stepmother. He demanded that the prince walk through a blazing fire to prove his innocence.
Wow.
Miraculously, the prince emerged unscathed, thus proving his innocence. But the seeds of doubt had already been sown in the king's mind. Now uneasy in the presence of his mistrustful father, the prince requested to be sent away to the battlefield where he would fight against Frasiev's army. That's the enemy general we heard them mention just now. This is the part where the prince has won the war and decided to forge a peace with the rival nation. He wrote a letter recommending peace to his father. Oh, it looks like the king's made up his mind. Let's keep watching.
Frasiev lost because he did not have the blessing of God. Our God will always watch over us and punish our enemies. Once the bells of war have begun to toll, they shall not cease until the blood of our enemies fills the land. There can be no victory until the last enemy soldier has fallen.
What?
If Kubad still wishes to be my son and hold the intaglio I bestowed upon him as proof of his royal blood, then he must obey my command.
Your Majesty, I must caution that a nation destroyed is not a fallen city writ large. Now, the loss of one city strikes fear into the hearts of our enemies, compelling them to accept defeat and cede land in exchange for peace. If, however, we insist on bringing a whole nation to its knees, then so long as a single person is left standing, they will see us as their sworn enemy, and one day return to us tenfold the pain that we have inflicted on their nation and family. My king, a people is to their nation as wild grass to the open prairie. Though we burn down the whole field and spare not one blade of grass, roots continue to grow unseen beneath the surface. Come the spring, it is all but inevitable that fresh green shoots will rise up from the ashes.
Cease, Gundafar. Your mind grows dull in your old age, filled with naive delusions. We shall have no more need of you on the battlefield. As for my son Kubad, I will summon him back to the capital so he may be tried by a court-martial.
What are you saying, my noble king? Why must you mistrust your own flesh and blood and sink ever deeper into the blight of hatred? When he was falsely accused, you once doubted his honor and made him walk through a raging fire. Did he not prove himself worthy by emerging unharmed from the flames?
This is interesting tie-in back to one of the Bible stories with Daniel's friends, Meshach, Abednego, whatever, the three friends, those are their names in Babylon.
Now you would turn me away when I seek only to provide the wisdom of counsel. What is the justification for this?
They were tossed into a very hot, fiery furnace and were not burned because God protected them. So this is seemingly a little bit of a reference to that.
The justification is that my word, not yours, is the law of the land. Cease and be gone, Gundafar, so you may spend the rest of your days with your wife.
What has become of the king that I served with my life? Fanaticism has robbed him of all reason and wisdom. Peace is surely the most favorable path for our nation, yet he refuses to accept it.
I must think of a way to seize control of the army back from the hands of my wayward son, that they might continue the fight to the end. Perhaps the first task should be this. I shall send a loyal contingent of warriors to eliminate Frasiev and the hostages he has sent to our palace.
Brilliant acting, Darbil.
I saw you approaching us in the middle of the scene. I was worried that my performance would be subpar and you'd think I was just making a fool of myself.
Not at all. Far from it. Actually, let me introduce you. This is Darbil, the actor for King Caboose. When we first got to know each other, he was still a guard for one of the merchant caravans. Seems like he's now made the switch to full-time acting.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Any friend of Kaya's is a friend of mine. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't making all that much as a mercenary. It felt right to me to get away from the danger and live a more stable life. I was already pretty good at telling stories, so I just recruited a few friends and started performing shows all over the country. Full disclosure, we had to put this little stage together using whatever wood and cloth we could borrow. It's really low budget. Anyway, we're all good enough at acting to get through the motions, but none of us are any good at coming up with a script. Everything we tried to write just sounded off somehow. So I got a student from the academia to adapt an old story I knew to make it more appealing to our audience. What do you think? Passable?
I could tell that you've had someone tighten up the lines. They turned out very nicely.
Ah, that's good. Well, as you can see, even now, we still don't have much of an audience. Don't suppose you'd be interested to see the rest of the show?
Sure, why not? I don't have anything pressing lined up. And I don't think the Traveler does either. Tickets for 2, please. How much would that be?
There's no need for tickets. You could just get some food from Jafar Tavern. We've worked out an arrangement with them. We've actually found a sponsor for this performance, too. He's not too happy about the poor turnout, though. I doubt we'll be able to keep him for the next performance. A real pity. But what can you do, huh?
Darbil Asgar still hasn't shown up for the next scene. We should get his costume and sword out so they'll be ready to go the moment he gets here.
My apologies. I have to get ready for the upcoming scene. I'll see you from the stage.
Order food from Nesmil.
Would you two like to order some food? What can I get you? If you're looking for recommendations, today's special is the tandoori roast chicken.
Bear with us a moment. We're just going to take a look at the menu.
How did you become friends with Darbil?
I was at Port Ormos discussing some business opportunities, and some crook was trying to pull a fast one on me. Darbil took pity on me and politely asked him to make himself scarce. He's a good guy. A decent storyteller, too. Quite an interesting character. There's a lot of fun to be had if you hang around interesting people doing interesting things. Especially if you're in the company of an interesting friend. That's my secret formula for staying in a good mood. Try it out sometime. You'll see what I mean. Thanks for waiting. We're ready to order now. We'll take you up on that tandoori roast chicken. And let's throw in some desserts, too. 1 each of the rose custard, that talumba, and the patisara pudding, please. That should see us through the show. We've got good seats, close to the stage, but also not too crowded. We can watch the show as we eat. If I remember correctly, the next scene should focus on the prince. But I won't spoil it for you. You have to experience it for yourself.
Sounds like the story has made quite an impression on you.
You could say that. It's always stayed with me because it's hammered home a cruel but realistic truth. People do not choose where and when to be born, yet the circumstances of their birth define the choices that they will have for the rest of their life.
Here you are. The check's on the table, too. Just call me over when you're ready to settle up.
No need. I'll pay up front. Here. Keep the change.
Thank you, sir. Oh, but this is too generous.
Call it a token of my gratitude for the excellent service. The food all smells wonderful, too. So please pass my compliments to the chef.
Thank you so much, sir.
Let's dig in, traveler.
Hey, Kaya. I'm so sorry, but the actor who plays the prince has run into some difficulties and won't be able to make it. We can't do the rest of the show without him, so I'm really, really sorry, but we'll have to call the show right here.
Can you use an understudy? Can Kaya fill in for him?
Ooh, that would be fun. I wouldn't say no.
I was just kidding.
Darbil, would you lose any income if I were to mess this up?
Not really. I mean, there's not much of an audience here anyway. I wouldn't want to take too much of your time, though.
Don't worry about that. I like to be spontaneous now and then. Spice things up a little.
Let me think. Well, you already know the story, so you just need to memorize a few lines. Huh, you know what? This might actually work. Ah, wait, but Kubot has a specific costume he's supposed to wear, and there's no way you'd fit into it. Switching actors is one thing, but wearing street clothes on stage would really ruin the immersion. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work.
Well, good thing that I've actually got a costume with me. It goes pretty well with your stage, too.
You're kidding. Can you show it to me?
Sure. If you can show me the way to your changing room.
It's in the restaurant. Follow me.
Gotta say, I think I actually look pretty dapper in this. It's a pity I don't have many opportunities to wear it in public.
You're such a show-off, but you do look pretty good.
Uh-oh, not a fan of me as a prince? I'll have to act my heart out so you'll be too dazzled to make any digs.
Kaya, here's your script for the next scene. It's not too long, but you also don't have very long to prepare. Do you think you can memorize your lines in time?
Only one way to find out.
Kaya and the actors briefly rehearse the scene.
I think we've covered all your lines and movements on stage. You haven't had long to prepare, so don't worry about forgetting your lines. We'll remind you.
All right, I'm good to go.
Great. Then let's get this show on the road.
General Kubot, son of Kabus, the fate of this battle is clear. I beg you, please spare my few remaining men. They no longer have the strength to fight back.
Frasyav, though you now lead only the husk of a once mighty army, I have no desire to crush your dignity. Even your most savage warriors have no desire to see further bloodshed, and none among your ranks have opposed these peace talks. Nevertheless, I must hear it from you one final time. General Frasyav, do you agree to sign a treaty in good faith and commit from this day forth to peace between our nations?
With my army in ruins, I am in no position to do otherwise. But on this, I give you my word. Yes, let us end our hostilities and send our surviving men home to their families.
We share the desire to lay down our arms for good and liberate our hearts from the dirge of hatred. Then as God above is our witness, by the authority vested in me by this intaglio of King Kabus, I hereby declare that I will spare your hostages and what remains of your army. May peace be restored to this land, and may these fields of war become a place where crops grow aplenty. My tutor, Gundafar, has already made haste to my father, the king, with the recommendation of a truce. It is my sincere hope that he will see that peace as a path to prosperity and grant me his blessing.
Prince Kubot, your name is renowned throughout your land and ours. I will place my hope in your words.
One will find on a battlefield no master of ceremonies, nor the paper on which a treaty may be signed. In their absence, let us raise our weapons and swear an oath. I, Kubod, son of Kabus, hereby pledge protection to you and all of your kin. May the oceans be stained red with my blood if I am ever to renounce this oath.
Wow, your friend is so dreamy. He's not a real prince by any chance, is he? Hey, Rashana, you don't want to miss this. The good-looking guy who left that huge tip is acting on stage with Darbil's troupe.
Darbil's one lucky man.
I return, Your Highness. I hope I'm not too late. Have you already promised peace to Frasyov?
Nay, I am not so rash as to preempt my father's blessing. I promised only what I could so far, the safety of his kin.
My child, I must share with you the gravest news. Caboose has become blinded by fanaticism and hatred, and will stop at nothing to vanquish every last man under Frasyov's lead.
How can this be? You mean to say that my father has rejected our proposal for peace?
He has indeed. I urged him to reconsider, and for this I was rebuked and dismissed from his service. But far stricter punishment than this awaits you, should you return home with your troops. Please heed my warnings, dear child. I dare not imagine what unspeakable atrocities your father intends to commit.
Nay, the truce must stand. I cannot renounce my oath. How can man claim to stand above beast without remaining true to his word? The masses have grown weary of death and conflict in both our nation and theirs. Are we all now to bend to his will and massacre countless more to satisfy a desire that is his alone? When I departed my beloved home to fight in a foreign land, I did so to honor his wishes and for my duty to our people. Alas, is this fate's grand design? Is this fate's grand design?
Kaya, the next line is, "Alas, is this fate's grand design, that I should spend the rest of my days in a foreign land, till I am laid to rest in a grave far from home?"
Must it be so?
Huh? Wait, that's not part of the script. Kaya, did you not hear me?
My dear audience, I ask you this. Do you believe in fate? If fate decreed that your life was to end in tragedy, what would you do?
Why did he just throw the prop to me? Seems like improv with the audience. Guess I should play along. I would bravely face my fate.
Oh? Then so must it be. Yes, so must it be. I shall discard this intaglio and rid myself of the shackles of fate.
Wait, but that's not... My dear prince, do you intend to betray your father and abandon your heritage?
Fate means to send the machinations of war to every corner of the land, to fan the flames of conflict till they engulf the entire world. Fate would see my sword tainted with the blood of innocents, that the bright banner of my homeland might fly in every nation known to mankind. But I shall not bow to the will of fate. I am no pawn in heaven's plan.
Bravo! Where did this guy come from? Is he one of the new hires?
Hey, shut up. Stop interrupting.
I, Kubad, will spend the rest of my days in a foreign land till I breathe my last in a place far from home.
Oh, at least he brought it back in the end.
Prince Kubad, my child, there is no need to be rash. Please bring at least your fortune and the retainers who will always be loyal to you.
Gundafar, my dear mentor, you have always been like a father to me. It brings me only anguish to bid you farewell. But I must walk this path, or freedom dies by my hand. Goodbye, my tribe and kin. Farewell, sweet land of my birth.
Goodbye, my child.
The now sizable audience bursts into applause. Talk to Kaya.
Ooh, it's Prince Kubad. Could I please get your autograph?
Why, certainly, ma'am.
Ooh, thank you. I'll just go find a pen.
Good show, Kaya. I want an autograph too.
Just an autograph? Well, you can get one of those at any time. Acting is quite fun. If there ever came a day when I left the Knights of Favonius, I think I might go into acting full-time.
Dabil, could you introduce me to this young man?
My apologies, Master Toos. I somehow missed you in the crowd earlier.
I was some distance away. I just came over near the end after I noticed the large crowd gathered around the stage. The performance was outstanding across the board. I knew that the poor turnout over the past few days was just bad luck. It was only ever a matter of time before you hit it big. The improvised section was particularly good. I think you could include some improvisation as a staple in future performances. As for the prop he threw, no need to get it back. It's fairly cheap anyway.
Thank you, sir. And a big thanks also to our wonderful prince. Had Kaya not agreed to fill in, we might have disbanded right on the spot.
Kaya, was it? Well, young man, I must say, you've made quite the impression on me. My caravan is always loaded with the finest food and wines. You're welcome to visit at any time.
Thank you for the invite, sir, but I'm afraid I've reached the end of my time in Sumeru. I'm sure that my friends and family in Mondstadt must be missing me terribly.
Well then, consider it an open invitation. Once you've been bitten by the travel bug, my friend, you'll be getting itchy feet again before too long. My door is always open. If you're ever interested, please ask Darbil to reach out to me. Darbil, we can continue discussions on the sponsorship once you've wrapped up today's show. I'm going back to the inn.
Thank you so much, Master Toos. I'll see you shortly. Seriously, Kaya, thank you for bailing me out again. You're a good guy. May the gods bless you. You know, you should stay for a few more days. I owe you a meal at the very least.
Darbil, Asgar is back. He lost track of time playing Genius Invocation TCG. You've got to sort him out.
Genius Invocation again? Ah, that does it. That kid's not getting away with it this time. Please excuse me, Kaya. I will be right back.
Sure, there's no rush. Okay, I think they're all gone. Let's slip away now while we can. All right, this should be far enough. Don't think they'll find me here.
Aren't you gonna sign some autographs? Didn't want to stay for a free meal sometime?
People were starting to expect a lot of things that I didn't sign up for. Besides, the missing actor is back now. Darbil shouldn't be needing me to stand in again. I don't mind socializing, but compared to chatting over food and drink, I much prefer just going wild on the stage. What about you? Did you enjoy the show?
Thought your performance was intriguing. Mostly, I was curious to know what was going through your mind on stage.
Oh? I was expecting a lengthier critique, but you've thrown the question right back at me. Sneaky. All right, I'll rise to your challenge. Let me think. All the world's a stage, and all the people merely players. Does that answer your question? Perhaps there's an inept god out there deciding everyone's fates, much like the academia student drafting Darbil's scripts. Yeah, inept is a good word for it. Honestly, it might even be a little too civil to describe a god who turns fathers against their sons and is bent on endless warmongering, don't you think? Anyway, that's exactly why actors need to wake up and realize they don't have to follow the script. There's nothing to stop them from following their gut and making it up as they go along.
Does this inept god really exist?
Oh, my dear traveler, please don't take me too literally. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. The god is just a figure of speech. The real point I'm making is about the actors. Everyone, you and I included, is both an actor and a member of the audience. If you don't like the script, just walk off the stage and join the audience. You always have a choice.
That sounds difficult.
A little too obtuse? Well, don't dwell on it. It's nothing worth losing sleep over. I was just thinking aloud. Relax. Be yourself. Do your thing. That's all I'm really trying to say. When I did my little bit of audience interaction back there, you had no time to prepare. You had to just say what you thought in the moment. I think those spontaneous thoughts are often the most authentic. And that's why I liked your answer. You're still holding on to the intaglio I threw you from the stage, right? Keep it. Think of it as a souvenir from my improvised performance. It's been the most fascinating day, hasn't it, little birdie?
Is this in toggle? Oh, it just goes in there, I guess. You're the wrong one. Oh, there it is. I have time for some more.
It's just some...
Especially since it went quickly. Alright, only one branch on that one.
Chronic problem I have flaring up again. Nothing to worry about.
Gundafar, we are in the middle of a war. Your place is at the front lines by my son's side. Pray tell, what provokes your unwarranted return to the palace?
A matter of utmost importance, Your Majesty, such that I must personally report it to you.
Huh. Outdoor theater. Looks fun.
Where were we just now? Travel expenses?
Ah, yes. Here's what I was thinking about the unused funds. Given that the acting Grand Master saw fit to allocate these funds to my trip in the first place, I think it's my responsibility to make sure that every last mora is put to good use. In other words, what do you say we find a way to spend the remaining budget? Perhaps a fancy meal at a nice restaurant? Or a river cruise that takes in the sights of Sumeru City? Or we could buy a few nice mementos to take home.
Isn't this embezzlement?
Hey, no need to put it like that. Let's keep walking. We can consider it some more on the road. The rules of the Knights of Favonia state that any and all expenditures during a business trip are counted as travel expenses. That's more than enough justification to live a little. Of course, with me being here on my own, it was looking like a wasted opportunity. But now that I've run into you, why don't we make this a joint trip? You're always so busy. It's high time you gave yourself a proper break. Even the sharpest blade loses its edge if it's always in use. Regular maintenance is essential for reliable performance.
I was just relaxing with Lynette earlier. She is so delightful.
And anyway, life is short, so we should make the most of the time we have. Right now is the perfect time to relax and enjoy ourselves. And who knows how many other chances we'll get. So come on, what do you say?
We can't spend public money for our own amusement. Let me take you somewhere new.
Great. Music to my ears. I'll cover the travel costs, of course. There's nothing more enjoyable than the company of a good friend. Let's call this a nice little excursion to round off my long business trip. Now, let me think where we should go. I've seen a lot of Sumeru already, so let's go for someplace new. How about Liyue? I'd be heading past there on my way back to Mondstadt anyway, so it's not out of the way.
No problem. I'll show you around.
Well, lucky me. I'll hold you to that. Liyue's Ministry of Civil Affairs frequently corresponds with the Knights of Favonius, so the address on their letterhead is one of the few places I'm familiar with. I don't have much luggage, so it won't take me long to pack. Give me a moment, and then we'll head there together.
Oh, just warping over here, alright.
I've heard that there's lots to see and do in Liyue, but I'm sure you're more familiar with the place than I am, so I'll leave the itinerary to you.
I have friends all over Liyue and can score discounts galore. Let's stop by Hutao and the Wangshan Funeral Parlor first. They're the greatest.
Excellent. Well, hopefully I'll get to know some of these
She's
friends for
always
myself.
looking for clients.
It's such a satisfying feeling to just drop everything, go on a long trip, and see something new. Who knows who we might cross paths with? We might even end up going on an impromptu adventure. Just like how I met you in Port Olmos, and now we're here. Come on, let's see what's up ahead. Do you know this shop? It looks pretty nice from the outside. Shall we take a look?
Welcome to Mingxing Jewelry. We are a long-established trader of precious stones. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Let me see. Ah, some nice jewelry you've got here. Maybe I can grab something with a local flavor as a souvenir. What do you think, traveler? See anything that suits my style? I trust your judgment.
Actually, let's see if they sell anything off the shelf. Are you already buying souvenirs on the first day of your trip? Goods from Mingxing Jewelry don't come cheap. Are you sure?
Ah, you're interested in souvenirs. If you're struggling to decide, you might want to consider getting some jade. You can't go wrong with a nice jade pendant. They're an elegant addition to your look, whatever your age or gender. If you're looking for a specific design, we can make it to your specifications. It does take some time to fulfill an order, however. High-quality jade is hard to come by, so our waiting list is at least a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's a pity. I'm just visiting and I won't be in town for very long. So as much as it pains me to do so, I'm afraid I'll have to leave this beautiful bijou behind.
No worries at all, sir. If you're looking for something off the shelf, why not go and see Mr. Shurto at the Jade Mystery? He also deals in jade and precious stones.
Ah, you mean the jade betting guy.
Exactly. But on that note, let me give you a word of advice. There's no risk in purchasing a piece of jade that's already been cut. But you could lose all of your mora betting on uncut rocks. I won't say any more, as I don't want my fellow vendors to think I'm bad-mouthing them. But I think you catch my drift. It's only human nature to spend a little when you're on a trip. But don't be too hasty to part with your cash. The Ministry of Civil Affairs takes everyone's economic well-being very seriously, and they often send out the Millilith to spread public awareness of well-known scams. As guests here, I'd encourage you to watch out for anyone trying to rip you off.
I think that's sound advice wherever you go into that. We appreciate it, boss.
Go to the Jade Mystery and have a look.
Welcome! Looking for uncut stones or pre-cut jade? We've got plenty of both for your viewing pleasure.
Hey there, Shito.
Uncut stones. Ah, yes, we were just briefed on that. Let's take a look at the pre-cut jade.
We mustn't rush into a purchase.
I believe I detect a quiet but distinct tone of apprehension in your words. Please rest assured, there's nothing to be quite so wary about with my business. Feel free to peruse at your leisure. I think you'll find that everything I do here is entirely above board and legitimate, and I sell only pure and unadulterated goods. No scam guaranteed. Sure, you can bet on jade and lose if you're unlucky, but that doesn't make it a scam. My terms are clear and transparent, and I only do business with willing customers. What scammer can claim that?
Sounds perfectly reasonable. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much the vendor is charging. If the customer decides to hand over their money, they're taking the bait of their own free will.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you understand. Although your peculiar phrasing at the end there, you almost make it sound as if I really am scamming people. Anyway, betting on Jade is what it is. Feel free to try your luck, but if you can't afford to lose, then it's not for you. We don't need to cause each other any trouble. I'll leave you to browse at your own pace now while I deal with other potential customers.
Amber-colored jade would probably make for a good souvenir.
Are you really thinking of buying it?
Why not? This is a quirky little place. Somehow, I'm inclined to entertain him for a bit.
Those core lapis pieces are more a dozen. I have better quality pieces than these.
Well, if you're not interested, then I guess we'll pass.
Ahoy there, Captain! Fancy seeing you back in town. Struck any gold lately?
What, a poor sailor like me? You must be joking. I barely managed to make ends meet. What about you, Chateau? Still scamming people with your pile of rocks?
Hey! Keep your voice down. Can't you see I've got customers? But more to the point, when have you ever seen a customer get scammed in my store?
I mean, you want the full list? Or... Hold up. Is that Captain Kaya? What, brings you to Liyue?
Oh, just taking a short trip with my friend. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a good while, hasn't it?
Anywhere you'd recommend I visit while I'm here?
Let me think. Wanmin Restaurant's always a pretty good bet. Chef Mao's daughter is a skilled chef, and their prices are very reasonable. My wife can't get enough of their boiled fish. You could give that a try. And, speaking of my wife, she won't let me forget what a great help you've been to us before. So thank you, on her behalf.
Your wife? Ah, yes. How is she doing these days? Keeping well?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Anyway, I've got something I need to do down at the South Wharf, so my apologies, Captain Kaya, but I'd better get going.
All right. See you. Ah, I finally remembered who that was. Captain Wu. He runs a transport business between Mondstadt and Liyue.
I see. So you went through that whole conversation with no idea who you were talking to. Well, that explains the generic pleasantries and the general awkwardness. Old Wu's usually quite the chatterbox, so it's very unusual for him to just take off mid-conversation. How exactly do you two know each other anyway?
Maybe he owes Kaya money?
Nope, that's not it. I don't give out loans. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. The captain was making a delivery to Mondstadt when his ship sprang a leak. He overexerted himself fixing it and keeping the cargo dry, and ended up passing out from exhaustion. I took him to Mondstadt to recover.
Well, it still seems strange to me. Sure, he's hardly the most charming conversationalist, and he's also mighty stubborn, but all of us know Old Wu is an honest and kind-hearted man. His eldest was once playing on that big rock over there when he took a tumble and injured himself. I helped to patch the kid up, and the next day, Old Wu was here to buy a couple of uncut stones. I'm just surprised he was so quick to excuse himself, that's all. Normally, he's the kind of guy who, if you run into him on the street and he owes you a favor, he'll grab you by the hand and thank you profusely until you ask him to stop.
Well, stubborn, I can believe. Someone had drilled a gaping hole in his ship, and the water was coming in fast. How he managed to make it all the way to Mondstadt, not to mention with his cargo intact, I have no idea.
Someone drilled a hole in his ship? Oh dear. It must have been one of the less savory captains out there trying to sabotage his business, so they can squeeze their way into the market. When competition is stiff, sometimes things get ugly. It's the way of the world, unfortunately. His line of work isn't easy. The poor fellow usually has to set sail before the break of dawn. He's been loitering around a lot these past few weeks, though. I thought maybe he'd come into some Mora. Competition is fierce these days, and there's not a lot of Mora to be made in shipping. So every day he stays idle is another negative in the books. I do wonder what's gotten into him. Anyway, I digress. We merchants protect our goods like our own lives, so who knows? Maybe he had some important cargo to see to. Either way, good sir, don't mind him.
Kay is a good soul.
I am an upstanding member of the Knights of Favonius, after all. Just look me in the eyes. Don't you find me trustworthy?
Since you asked about recommendations earlier, you're here from Mondstadt, yes? Might I suggest the tea house is somewhere to rest your legs? If memory serves, they're just about to retell the tale of Bravebeard the Valiant from the top. Why not pay them a visit?
Huh. Sounds interesting enough. Let's check it out.
Alright. Rush over to the tea house. This is the one I think upstairs. Yeah. Go up here. Oh, and Captain Wu is here as well.
So this is the Hu Tea House.
Let's find some seats.
We meet again, Captain Kaya. What a coincidence. Twice in one day.
Didn't you say you had to do something at the South Pole?
Oh, that didn't take me long. And I ran the whole way.
Wu, weren't you just at Wanwen Bookhouse buying a book for your daughter? What's this talk about?
She ratted him out.
Shh, just leave it be, Aunt Jong. There's no need to embarrass him right in front of everyone else. I take it that you two aren't from around these parts. I'm a caravan guard by trade, and meeting people from all over the world is one of the main perks of the job for me. Why don't you join my table so we can get to know each other?
Oh, seems like the tea house is the place to be in Liyue. Feels like I'm back in the angel share. Did you manage to get something for your daughter just now, Captain Wu?
Yes, thank you. If it weren't for you, Captain Kaya, she might not have even made it into this world.
I'm so lost, Wu. What's the story here?
Your wife's originally from Mondstadt, isn't she? Did you run into Captain Kaya when you were there on business, or when you were visiting the in-laws?
The latter.
So wait, you two have met more than once?
Oh, this is so humiliating. Anyway, back when my wife was pregnant, we were taking a trip to Mondstadt to visit her parents this one time, when we were mugged by a group of treasure hoarders near Dawn Winery.
Oh, that sounds awful. Were either of you hurt?
I mean, he's still here, and he's still got all his limbs, so they can't have roughed him up too bad. I'm guessing Captain Kaya stepped in before they could do either of you any serious harm, huh?
Yes, he did. Thankfully, he heard my wife crying for help and drove them away. My wife was injured and quite shaken up by the ordeal, so he took her to the winery and asked them to look after her.
So what happened to you? Where did you disappear to?
I was in the water.
Huh? What did you jump in the water for? You know they can still get you in there, right?
No, that's not... They threw me into the water and, stripped me of all my clothes.
They did what? Did they have a weird fetish or something?
I can't believe they put this in
Stripping a
here.
sailor naked and throwing him into the water. It's not like you were going to drown. So, then what? I take it you swam to shore?
The treasure hoarders always move in groups, and fighting back when you're outnumbered isn't usually an option. It's no surprise that they quickly overpowered Captain Wu. I'm just glad that everyone made it out all right at the end.
Captain Kaya, please, there's no need for you to try to save face for me like this. I already owe you so much. You don't have to do anything more. Yet, despite that, I somehow only ended up humiliating myself further. Oh, there's no point in me trying to save face now. They tossed me into the water to humiliate me, and to use it as leverage to get my wife to pay up. But they didn't know that I could swim. What I'd intended was to pretend to drown, then sneak back onto shore while they weren't looking, and find a way to rescue my wife. That was before Captain Kaya appeared out of nowhere and saved the day. So then I figured I'd get out of the water, get dressed, and catch up with you. But God knows what they did with my clothes. I couldn't find them anywhere. By the time I gave up looking for them, you were most of the way to the winery, so I had to run after you with nary a thing on myself.
Outrageous!
So, what happened next?
I made it to the winery, but the maids noticed me first. And they called the Lord of the Manor out to give me the beating the treasure hoarders never got around to. After my wife recovered consciousness, she had to have a long talk with the young lord to explain everything. He then escorted us both safely to Stonegate.
Oh, whoa. I'm sorry. But...
Ugh, good luck living that one down.
Trust me, I know. My wife never lets me forget.
I'm sorry, Captain. I wasn't intending to share that story.
It's fine. It's my own fault for thinking I could sweep it under the carpet and forget about it. I don't know if I can ever repay you for all you've done. That's why I get so embarrassed every time I run into you. Still, it won't stop me from trying. You and your friend are here to catch the storyteller, right? The tea's on me. It's the least I can do. In fact, they do serve some food here, too, but it's not the best. Okay, let me run and get some fruit to share. I'll be right back.
Chat with everyone.
I wonder how much Fanaria caught of that. Old Wu really has no filter, does he?
Oh, poor Wu. Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry. It's just...
Chat with... Okay, Kay over here.
He really didn't have to share all the details of that story. But since he didn't seem to mind, I wasn't about to stop him.
Did you forget about what had happened to him?
I did actually forget at first. But once he brought up his daughter, the memory of his naked escapades came flooding back. D-Luke thought some pervert was harassing the maids. He charged straight out the door, great sword in hand and raring to go. I haven't seen him so angry in a long time. So many people owe me favors nowadays. It's hard to keep track of them all. I really should go check my favors ledger once I'm back and refresh my memory.
You have a favors ledger. That's alarming.
Hey, you didn't think I was being serious, did you? Do I really strike you as the kind of person to keep track of favors in a notebook? I just helped the guy out on a couple of occasions because I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I have no intention of asking him to do anything for me in return. At least, not so far.
I'm back with fruit. Please help yourselves, everyone. My treat.
Thank you.
Oh, don't mention it. It's just a few fruits, nothing extravagant. Once my new pharmaceutical business takes off and I have Mora to spare, I'll get you a proper thank you gift and send it to the Knights of Favonius.
Pharmaceutical business?
Pharmaceutical business. So you found a new career? No more shipping?
Shipping's impossible work nowadays. There's too much competition and the margins are too small. So I've decided to switch gears. I'm going to become a partner of Boo Boo Pharmacy and provide funding for a brand new medication they're producing. It's specially formulated to treat seasonal joint and limb pain. If you didn't know, it's a very common health complaint among sailors, but also extremely difficult to treat. I've suffered from it myself, which is why I know that a lot of people stand to benefit from this once it enters the market. It's a good cause, and a stable source of income. Whichever way you look at it, it's a step up from the back-breaking work I did before. I've already had some talks and invested 1 million Mora for the first round of funding.
1 million Mora?
That's impressive, Wu. I wouldn't have thought you had the connections for something like that. So is it Dr. Baiju that you're in talks with?
I doubt it.
Oh no, not Dr. Baiju. Actually, it was his master, Dr. Baifutsu.
I knew it!
His medical expertise and clinical experience are second to none. And he really cares about his patients. He gave me a few of his traditionally formulated bone-strengthening pills when he saw me suffering from my leg pains one day. It was like a miracle cure. The pain immediately went away.
Dr. Baiju's master?
Yeah. I told him I'd be enthusiastically recommending his medicine to the other guys at the docks. And after some hesitation, he just went right ahead and wrote up a prescription for me, completely for free. He said that he shouldn't really be handing out free prescriptions since, and I quote, "It goes against generations of tradition handed down by our forebears. but he just felt like it was the right thing to do. What a great guy.
But I got chatting with Dr. Baiju recently when the Secure Transport Agency did a delivery for Boo Boo Pharmacy. He told me that his master has already passed away.
Exactly.
Huh? Why would he say something like that? I mean, the guy's old, but he's still in great health.
Captain Wu, where did you meet this old master?
Just out on the street? I know that sounds dubious, but this is an educated and respectable gentleman we're talking about. There's no faking that.
Oh no. Oh no.
Hold on a second. I just remembered something. My nephew-in-law met a medicine seller not too long ago, too. He also described it as a miracle cure. He spent a lot of mora on it, but when he brought it to Boo Boo Pharmacy, Herbalist Gui took one look and told him he'd bought nothing but regular painkillers. This Bai Fuzi you met, did he by any chance have a goatee and salt and pepper hair?
He did.
If I may, Captain Wu, there's a lot of mora involved here. It seems like it would be worth asking this Dr. Baiju about his master, just to set the record straight. You could show him the medicine as well. Clearly there's some misunderstanding here.
You're right, Captain Kaya. A quick trip to Boo Boo Pharmacy and I can get Dr. Baiju to clear all of this up. I'm sure it's all... I mean, hopefully it's all fine.
He left in a hurry. He must be stressed out of his mind right now.
I know Dr. Baiju. Maybe I should go and help.
Hey, let him deal with this, okay? No point in you stressing yourself out, too. Fraud or not, it's up to Captain Wu to figure out exactly who he's gotten himself involved with. I'm no Dark Knight hero, or a martial arts hero for that matter, and neither are you. Wait, or are you? Now that I think about it, I can see you having a secret double life as a martial arts hero here in Liyue. You certainly have the personality for it. Either way, Liyue has its own rules and regulations. Best to let the Ministry of Civil Affairs deal with this in the proper manner. If a couple of outlanders like us get involved, we might just end up muddying the waters, even with the best of intentions. We came here to enjoy ourselves, remember? We don't want to get our priorities mixed up. Oh, and look at that. The storyteller's taking the stage.
It is said that the sky's the limit for the aspirational soul. But alas, for the woes of the world are equally limitless. No such stranger to woes was Huang Guang, a man who, having suffered countless injustices at the hands of his fellow men, forsook them to dwell among the mountains and rivers. Yet fate fortuitous found him when he entered the tutelage of an adeptus and learned many mystical arts from them. Per his master's wishes, he then returned once more to the human world, only this time with a sworn duty to cleanse the land of demons and to see justice done wherever he might tread.
You listen to the tale of Bravebeard the Valiant.
Is that all? Huh. I was hoping to hear the rest of the story.
What did you think of the story?
It was all right. I suppose the hero always has to sacrifice himself to save others, and it does make for some good storytelling, but it leaves you wondering how he really feels about the whole thing. Did he ever have second thoughts? Only he can know, I suppose.
Oh, I see the show is over.
Did you find Baiju?
Yeah, I saw Dr. Baiju. Looks like it was a scam after all.
Then what are you waiting for? Don't just stand there. You need to report this to the Ministry of Civil Affairs right away.
Hold on. Let's not lose our cool. Get your story straight first, so you can give them a clear and detailed account of events in the order that they occurred. And one more thing. Do you still have a way to contact this guy?
Well, I'd arranged to meet him at the Yunsheng Tea House once I've withdrawn the next sum of Mora, so I suppose he'll still be waiting on that.
Okay, so you've got another meeting lined up.
I've got no one to blame but myself for this. I can't believe I was so gullible. I guess the world isn't made for naive simpletons like me.
Don't say that. This is not your fault. Your good nature is nothing to be ashamed of.
Young lady, you're a good person, and I'm touched by your words of comfort. Still, it's up to me to find a way to get my Mora back. The consequences are mine alone to bear. At my age, I'm sure I should be comforting the young with words of wisdom rather than the other way around. What does that say about how I've spent my life?
What is it, Kaya? Got a solution?
It's obvious, isn't it? He needs to report the case to the Ministry of Civil Affairs.
But I want to help.
Come with me.
Talk to Kaya.
I am quite curious. How does our chivalrous martial arts hero intend to come to Captain Wu's rescue here? There are countless victims of injustice in the world. We can't try to help each and every one of them, can we?
Right now, we can help at least one person, so he can be defrauded by somebody else.
Oh, I'm surprised. I didn't know you thought of me as someone who helps other people unconditionally. I'm genuinely flattered. But we both know that I'm not that kind of person, really.
You helped him think through where we can find the con artist. You didn't want others to laugh at Captain Wu's woes. You helped Captain Wu just because you were there and you didn't even remember it. And that's why I believe you'd be willing to help.
Your logic is very straightforward, and quite endearing in its simplicity. But I like how you think. So I'll indulge your martial arts hero aspirations for now. Captain Wu, how would you feel about owing me one more favor?
I'm sorry, Captain Kaya?
Let's say, hypothetically speaking, I found a way to recover your Mora that would leave the man who defrauded you feeling angry and frustrated, but give him no way to get back at you. If it could be done, and the only cost was owing me yet another favor, what would you say?
What exactly are you getting at?
The Traveler here is adamant that you should ask me for another favor. Personally, I blame the storyteller. After the inspiring tale of Bravebeard, she's all gung-ho about playing hero and righting this injustice once and for all.
Captain Kaya, young lady, thank you. I will humbly accept your kindness.
All right. Now here's what I'm thinking.
You develop a plan with Kaya.
All right, then it's settled. Per our brave hero's plan, let's rendezvous at Yanshang Tea House tomorrow.
I need to take a small break while I take the bathroom and stuff. Be right back.
But if you never test the limits, how can anyone know where the boundaries of these laws are?
Alright, I got a snack. And... wait until 8. Go to Yangshang Tea House.
Ah, you're here. Good. I'll head upstairs first, and you join me in a bit. You've got nothing to worry about. As long as this lucky coin's in my hands, it'll do as it's told. Before I toss the coin, I'll get our guy to bet heads or tails. Then it's your turn to bet. Now remember, if I touch my chin, you bet heads. If I touch my forehead, you go for tails.
Okay. Chin, heads, forehead, tails.
Hello. Are you waiting for someone?
Ah, sorry, I must have spaced out for a second there.
As long as you follow the rules of the tea house, you're welcome here. Please be our guest.
Go upstairs to find Kay and put your plan into action.
From the way you describe it, Liyue does sound like an attractive place to settle. Perhaps I might have to make the move here after all. All that awaits me back in Mondstadt is a horde of insufferable sycophants. Truly tedious. The reason I left home in the first place was because I was reluctant to simply live off of my inheritance.
I understand. For one as ambitious as yourself, Mr. Rich, living off of the family fortune must feel like the dullest existence in the world.
What are you doing? It's common courtesy to introduce yourself. Can't you see we got here first?
Don't be so uptight. Just looking for a seat.
They're running out of tables, huh? Looks like this location's getting too small for them. Very well, I'll make an exception for you this one time. Let's hope the tea, at least, won't disappoint me.
So, my friend, what's your name?
I'm an aspiring foreign disciple of the Guhua clan.
Here is the tea that you ordered. Please enjoy.
Ugh, this tea is... never mind. Mr. Bai, this has been a most pleasant and insightful conversation. I consider it good fortune that I encountered such a refined gentleman as yourself so far from home. Please allow me to pay for the tea.
Yes, good fortune indeed. In that case, I must thank you for your generosity.
You there. I'll get yours too.
Thanks. Where are you originally from?
Oh, you can't tell? My family's lived in Mondstadt for generations. I got bored sitting around at home and decided to set off on a journey to expand my horizons. The sights of Liyue Harbor are rather spectacular. I've half a mind to buy a waterfront property here so I can come vacationing every year. That would be quite nice. If the family would spare me a little loose change, I could even invest in an antique shop or two so I have something to do during the day.
But waterfront properties are so expensive.
And? The point of life is to enjoy yourself. If something makes me happy, it's worth every mora.
Mr. Rich, just to clarify, that's quite a large sum of mora as far as the common woman is concerned. It's understandable that our friend over here feels out of her league.
The name's Albert. Surname Rich. But only the servants in the house address me as Mr. Rich. Now that we're so well acquainted, Mr. Bai, please just call me Albert.
Albert does have a nice ring to it. It is my honor to become friends with someone of your caliber.
You flatter me. What say you to acting as my guide during my time in Liyue? I'll pay you handsomely, of course. Naturally, board and lodging would be included. And I could pay you in the region of 50,000 mora per day?
No need, my good friend. I shan't be so vulgar as to take your mora. We're both men of character. The pleasure of your ongoing acquaintance shall be ample reward in itself. To join a noble gentleman on his travels is a rare opportunity. Please, let me draft up an exact itinerary. I'll make sure to give you the experience of a lifetime.
You there. You're welcome to join us if you want. Which clan did you say you were with? The Hoo-Ha clan or something?
It's the Gu-Hua clan.
Gu-Hua, huh? Strange choice of name. Gotta say, I've been in Liyue for a while now. This is the first I'm hearing of them. I guess they're one of these obscure ones who keep to themselves.
Yes, well, there are many martial arts clans and factions in Liyue. It's only natural that you haven't become acquainted with all of them.
Ha, fair enough. Still, weird name. Bet they have some even weirder practices. Seriously though, what kind of skills do you guys train anyway? It's all for show, right? I saw some people performing a few tricks down at the wharf. Is it that kind of thing?
The Gu-Hua clan is devoted to the teaching of the martial arts. If you're comparing the Gu-Hua clan to street performers, we have nothing to talk about. I will take my leave now. I'll get my own check as well.
I already told the server to put it on my tab. Don't bother getting her to split the bill. It'll only complicate things.
Our master teaches us not to accept free favors.
Young lady, there's no need to take things so seriously. Why don't you loosen up and enjoy the free drink?
Are you trying to make a point by throwing my generosity back in my face? All right then. What if I say your bill is mine and don't let you pay?
Wanna fight?
Please, my friends, let's not get so worked up. Yinchang Tea House is no venue for a duel. We'll all get escorted right out the door. You young people have hot tempers, I understand that. But there's no need to come to blows over a few words taken to heart when there are far more diplomatic ways to resolve the dispute.
Ugh. Okay then. How about we settle this with a coin toss? I'll foot my own bill if I win.
Did I hear that right? So you'll only pay for yourself if you win, but I'll get the check for the three of us if you lose. It's not that I care about the Mora. After all, I offered to pay for everyone's drinks in the first place. No, what I find truly absurd is your refusal to play fair. I demand that you also pay for 3 if you win.
You insulted me first, and now you also want to dictate terms? If I win the bet, you have to make a formal apology to the Guhua clan.
Fine. You can have your apology if you win, but on one condition. We'll do the best of 3, and the winner pays for the table.
Well, as long as you're no longer raring to fight. Peace begets wealth, as the elders used to say.
Why do you join us, Mr. Bai? Let's entertain this gal for a sec. We don't want her to think you're stingy.
But I wasn't even a part of your argument.
What are you trying to say, Mr. Bai? Whose side are you on here?
Of course, I'm on,
And anyway, it's no big deal if you win. It's just a few cups of tea after all, so you can just take it from your fees as my guide.
All right then. I suppose it's not all that different from the dice gambling games I used to play in my youth. If it's just for a few drinks, you can count me in.
All right, now we're talking. Okay, now that we've agreed on the rules, how should we do this coin toss? After all, a Mora coin looks the same on both sides.
Easy. We can borrow a pen from the counter to mark one side.
Well, that should be simple enough. Here, I'll take this coin and ask the counter to draw a line on one side. You...
Young lady, I can see that you haven't spent many years in the real world. You take everything far too personally. I, too, only met this Mondstadt millionaire by complete chance today, but we're getting along just fine. I actually came here to meet with a business partner to count the cash from 2 recent investments, when this gentleman struck up a conversation with me. In the real world, you've got to keep up appearances. There's no need to offend the rich. After all, if you keep them happy, you can probably make some more off of them, too. You young people are much too impulsive. It pays to keep a level head.
Just so we're clear, let's say the marked side is heads, and the unmarked side is tails. Everyone has to pick a side before the coin toss. Oh. And no takebacks. We should also take turns tossing the coin.
Sounds fair to me. Why don't you do the first toss, Albert?
All right then, I'll start us off. Here we... Oh, wait. I nearly forgot to collect everyone's bets. Mr. Bai, heads or tails?
I suppose the choice is arbitrary since it's a 50-50 chance. I'll go with tails.
Let me think. I'll also go with tails. What about you? Heads or tails?
Tails, just as planned.
Oh, darn, I won. Lucky me, I guess.
I won as well. Guess there might be a formal apology in the cards after all.
Hey, this is just the first toss. Let's keep going.
I have a suggestion. If one of us loses twice in a row, they should get knocked out while the other 2 carry on playing to decide the winner. Otherwise, with 3 of us playing, it'll start to get difficult to keep track of who's won the most times. I flipped the coin last time, so why don't you go next? I don't want you blaming my coin-tossing skills if you guess wrong this turn. Here.
Now just wait a second, my dear friends. Please let me do the second toss.
Oh? Anxious to take your turn, Mr. Bai?
You are both young, and I've already seen your short tempers for myself. If Albert loses this round and this young lady wins, you'll be tied. And before you know it, you'll be at each other's throats again.
Please, he was the one at fault.
Well, that's not my only consideration either. You two may be too young to know this, but I've been around the block a few times. What's to say this isn't a trick coin, In dice games, people use all sorts of methods to rig the game. Some even fit the dice with mechanisms that give them whichever result they want. If Albert wins the next round, and you, young lady, lose for the second time in a row, then the third round will just be a tiebreaker between him and me, and you won't get your apology to the Guhua clan. If that happens, only for you to then find out that the coin was rigged all along, you're sure to accuse me of working with Albert to scam you while mocking the Guhua clan. I can only imagine the kind of vengeful warpath that would put you on. A purely hypothetical scenario, of course, but one that I'm bringing up now to avoid any misunderstanding further down the road. Go
Why
on,
is Kaya
Give
still
me the coin.
smiling?
Very diligent of you indeed, Mr. Bai. Looks like I chose the right person to be my guide. Here, take it.
A rigged coin will always be a little heavier than a normal coin, you see. This one seems perfectly normal to me, however. But don't take it from me. Why don't you test it for yourself?
Pettiness is below me. I trust your judgment. Phew, that was a close
What's your
call.
bet this time, Mr. Bai?
I'll stick with tails.
Tails, huh? Well, you seem to have a feel for this, so I guess I'll match your bet again this round. Tails it is. And you?
Heads. The coin turned up heads. Was that just a lucky guess, or is Kaya already...
Well, my luck's still just about holding out. The three of us are now tied, so no one drops out. Certainly better than Albert and I going head-to-head in the final round.
My turn.
Well, here you go. What'll it be, Mr. Bai?
It's a tough decision this time.
That's what makes it fun, isn't it? Anyway, there's no need to stress. What's the cost of a few cups of tea compared to 50,000 I'll be paying you every day?
You make a good point. All right, I'll take heads.
Okay, and now it's my turn to guess. Not that the outcome matters either way to me.
Fortunately, the coin turned up heads. Now it's Kaya's turn.
Why did it have to be heads? This whole thing started because you two got into a spat, and now I'm the one that has to foot the bill. What say you to another round?
Sure, why not? I'm having fun. I can go for as many rounds as you want.
You guys have fun.
What a miserly person. Do as you please. The two of us can play.
But Albert, all the fun of gambling is in the stakes involved. What say you to throwing a little loose change into the pot?
Oh, come on now. No need to walk on eggshells here. Let's keep it simple, shall we? If you guess right, I pick up the tab. But if you guess wrong, I'm afraid it's still on you.
Sure. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, here's the coin. You can toss first. I'll take heads.
I'll choose...
Wouldn't it defeat the whole purpose of betting if you guessed the same as me? This is a two-person game now.
All right. It all comes down to luck, after all. I'll take tails. Ooh, looks like Rex Lapis has smiled upon me today after all. Thank you for the tea, Albert.
Bet you wished you'd raised the stakes now, huh?
Look at you getting so giddy over some chump change. It's like you've never gambled with real money before, my old man. That's a real rush, I'm telling you. This is nothing by comparison. In fact, I'm starting to get a little bored.
Well, in that case, would you care for another game?
Sure. Let's up the stakes a little this time. Shall we say 50,000?
Whoa.
Oh, maybe that's a little on the high side.
What, 50,000? But that's just a single day's guide pay for you.
All right. I'll bet tails.
Great, then I'll bet heads. No takebacks.
Ouch.
Heads.
Tails. Oh, how unfortunate. I shouldn't have gotten greedy. After all, in the long run, gambling is always a losing game. 50,000 more. My goodness. Albert, I'm terribly sorry, but as it happens, I forgot to bring my coin purse with me today. Could you perhaps take this 50,000 out of my guide fees? Call it an advance payment. That would make us even.
Advance payment? Sorry, I'm afraid that's not my style. It'll have to be cash.
This day, just getting better and better. Well, so be it. 50,000. Let me see what cash I have on me.
Just 50,000? That's not what we agreed on.
Huh? What are you talking about? I think you'll find that our bet was for 50,000.
And also for the tea.
No, it wasn't. The amount was 1 million.
1 million? Are you insane? Come on now, Albert. Be serious. A million here and a million there might be all fun and games to you rich types, but to ordinary folk like myself, this is no laughing matter.
I'm being perfectly serious. I know what I said, and what I said was 1 million mora.
You're lying through your teeth. Hey, young lady, you tell him. Did you hear him say 1 million at any point during our bet?
Yeah, he said 1 million.
Huh? What the? I'm not deaf, you know. I swear I heard 50,000. Wait. Oh, I see. You two are in this together. I never met either of you before today, and out of nowhere you suddenly roped me into betting over a coin toss, and now you're accusing me of owing you 1 million mora. Huh? Do you have any idea who you're trying to cheat? I know all the tricks in the book. I can't believe a couple of beginners like you managed to get this far. Well, don't you try to celebrate just yet. You amateurs have a lot to learn about the art of the con. Do you really think that nobody else will have heard all the commotion we just made? All I need is one witness, and this little scheme of yours falls apart. Frauds! Frauds, I say! These two kids are trying to scam me out of my hard-earned mora! Hostess! Oh, hostess, come quickly!
How pathetic.
What is going on here? If you can't abide by our rules, you're not welcome at Yenshang Tea House. I don't care what the issue is. You don't get to make a racket like that in here. Halberd! Fang!
Wait, don't throw me out! These two con artists are trying to steal my mora. You can't let them get away with it.
Well, let's take this somewhere else. I don't want any of you disturbing the other guests.
Going to put away my snack. Hopefully we're almost done with this sequence. I think we are.
Okay, you two. Care to explain yourselves?
Gladly. He's making up completely spurious claims. We were betting Mora over a few coin tosses, and now he wants to back out. In the land of contracts, of all places. He won 250,000 from me, then another 800,000 from the both of us. Now he's refusing to pay up the measly 50,000 that he lost in the final round.
Okay, so after settling up, a total of 1 million Mora should have changed hands. Sounds plausible enough.
It's a complete pack of lies. Hostess, if you don't believe me, ask anyone else in the tea house. These kids were so loud. I guarantee you everybody in that room knows the true story.
Sorry to interrupt you all, but you're witnesses to the situation here. Is what Mr. Bai says true?
Oh, thank goodness you're finally here. What took you so long? That old guy's been bragging about the Mora he's won so loudly, I'm surprised the whole street didn't hear him. I was about to report him to the Ministry of Civil Affairs.
Leave me out of this. I want nothing to do with gamblers and scammers. Please, just bring me my check.
Our new owner laid down the law not too long ago. We turn a blind eye towards casual games of dice, but there is zero tolerance for any explicit gambling with real Mora. Return any winnings to the party you took them from, and we'll say that none of this ever happened. Otherwise, I'll have to bring in the Millilith. And I can assure you that they take a more hard line on this kind of thing than we do.
Why should I have to give them any Mora? I don't have any Mora on me.
Oh, but I think you do. 2 investments, was it? One of them to the tune of exactly 1 million as it happens. Oh, and don't forget you still need to pay the tab.
You... Wait. How did you...
Halberd! Bang! There's a gentleman here that I'd really like you to meet.
Please, please don't. I'll pay, all right?
This was never your Mora to begin with. We'll be returning it to its rightful owner now. What did you think, Captain Wu? Could you hear clearly from your corner on the 2nd floor?
Yes, everything. I can't thank you two enough.
Wu, this was your doing, wasn't it? You and this Mondstatter planned the whole thing, along with that blonde one. And all the customers on that floor were in on it too, weren't they? I know where you live, and I know what your wife looks like, and your pretty little daughter, too. You crossed the wrong man today.
Who'd be scared of a crook like you? I'll take you on any day of the week.
Well, let's see how long that false bravado of yours will last.
Oh, look at that. He figured it out. Guess he's not as dumb as we thought.
Don't you two get cocky either. Just you wait. I will hunt you down.
My apologies for having to leave this question until you'd vacated the premises. But I couldn't have things escalate inside the tea house. I hope you can understand our position. I noticed that all the guests on the 2nd floor were present before you took your seats, then left almost immediately after you did. Would I be correct in saying you were looking to set this man up?
Wait, so you saw through it right away?
Under normal circumstances, we would never tolerate a scheme like this taking place on our grounds, as it risks damaging our owner's reputation. However, I understand that our owner holds the Traveler in high regard and must have good reasons for their actions. Still, I would appreciate an explanation, if only so that I can answer to the owner.
Ah, as I thought. When you're operating on someone else's turf, you run the risk of clashing with the master of the house. Thankfully, we considered that possibility before going ahead with our plan. Over to you, brave hero. You're the one with the connections in Liyue. It's your time to shine.
You recount what happened to Captain
Okay.
Wu.
I understand the situation now. It goes without saying that I have no wish to stand in the way of your chivalrous deeds. I'll report everything you told me to our owner.
Feel free to find me again if you need any further explanation.
Well, Captain Wu, remember what I promised you? What do you think? Angry and frustrated enough for you?
I think you delivered.
Excuse me, coming through. Is this the Mr. Bai you reported to us?
Yes, that's him all right. The one who scammed Captain Wu.
Wait! Where's your evidence? And Wu, you've already recovered your Mora. I don't deserve to be punished twice for the same crime.
You can't talk your way out of this one. You're already suspected of defrauding multiple victims out of smaller amounts, and the combined total meets the threshold for a conviction. If it turns out you're guilty in this case too, it'll only add to your sentence. Does the plaintiff have any witnesses? If so, we'd really appreciate if they could come with us and provide a testimony.
Here, sir, I'm happy to give a testimony.
You got tangled up in this too, huh? In that case, please come with me. Your witness statements will play a crucial role in helping to move this case forward. Don't worry, we won't take up too much of your time. And you, sir, can stop twiddling your thumbs. You're coming with us too.
Hey, keep your hands off me. I'll cooperate. Stop manhandling me.
Thank you so much, the both of you. I really don't know how I could ever begin to repay you.
Well, I have an idea. We originally came here to do some sightseeing. Anywhere you'd recommend we go before the end of our trip?
Let me think. Now, where would I want to go? Hey, are either of you interested in a fishing trip?
Sounds fun to me. Let's go.
I want to inspect his boat first, please. Go to the seaside.
What should I try this time?
It says higher, but it's on my level. They messed that up.
Well, this was certainly an eventful end to my trip. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Or my lucky coin, of course.
I was just glad that nothing went wrong when I tossed the coin.
Wouldn't be much of a lucky coin if it had. Besides, I already taught you how to become attuned to it. You still need some practice to master the technique, but luckily it decided to play nice and spare us any more complications.
How do you control it anyway?
A better question to ask might be, what do I do to make this coin happy to work with me and show me whichever side I wish? My answer would be that I tell the coin a joke every time I toss it into the air. If it finds my joke funny, then it cooperates with me. Of course, this whole arrangement hinges on a pre-existing amount of trust between the two of us. I can't just get any strange coins to listen to me.
He caught us off guard when he insisted on taking the second coin toss.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when he unwittingly called out our trick coin, but it didn't matter. A good gambler always keeps their options open. You have to have a contingency plan for when the odds are against you. So when I went to the counter, I marked a regular coin as well as my trick one. That safely avoided any risk of him finding out about the trick coin. But it also meant that we wouldn't be able to control the result of that round. But hey, what does it matter? The fact that he made things a little more challenging only made it all the more exciting to watch him slowly but surely fall into our trap. Especially listening to him warn us about the possibility of a rigged coin right as we were scamming him. That was my favorite part. As long as I chose the same bet as him, and you bet the opposite to me, it was always going to end up with him paying. Unless, of course, he'd had some other tricks up his sleeve that we hadn't thought of. Then things would have gotten really interesting.
You two are genuinely the smartest people I've ever met. I'm no intellectual, so I would never have been able to come up with a plan like this. Even when you described it to me, I only understood parts of it.
All con artists get conned themselves sooner or later.
Well, I may not be the smartest guy around, but one thing I do know is this. One should always return tenfold the help that they've received from others. We were just ordinary acquaintances. You had no reason to help me as much as you did. If there's anything I can ever do for you in the future, anything at all, please let me know. You can always count on me. I guarantee it.
No? You seem agitated. Are you worried about owing me yet another favor? There are two kinds of people who owe me favors. One is my friends, and the other my informants. My informants have to fulfill whatever requests I make of them, no questions asked. The question is, which kind of person do you want to be? And you're torn again. Too afraid to ask to be my friend, but also daunted by the dangers inherent in becoming my informant. Well, it's okay, because I just thought of a fun and easy way to get us out of this impasse. Let's do a coin toss. This is the regular coin I prepared for the contingency plan when I was borrowing a pen from the bar. Not the lucky one that does what I tell it to. If it's heads, we're friends. But if it's tails, you're at my beck and call. May the Lord of Geo decide.
So, was it heads or tails?
What do you think? What does your heart tell you?
Kay had just put the coin back in his pocket.
I understand now. You have my most sincere gratitude. No, that's a little too formal. What I'm trying to say is, here, your fishing rods, my friends.
Lucky coin. I thought we were gonna go on a boat. Kinda lucky that we didn't. I don't trust his luck in boats. View the invitation. So that was definitely a long one. And the other endings branch out from here with the reunion. But I'm gonna stop here. Let's mark end stream. And see who's online. Grimmy, she seems really cool. Not something that really matches with my stream for today, though. Guilty Gear, everyone's watching the tournament. Even Zeus has gotten off by now. Tomato Master on Starfield. Well, let's raid her.